Another video. So in this one, we're going to talk about spiritual spring cleaning. And the whole purpose of this is for everyone to have the ability to feel renewed and refreshed anytime that you need to. We all go through things in life, and sometimes we just need a little advice or some tips on how to push the restart button and become the person that God intended us to be. Each of us has a purpose that's been put in us, and sometimes we don't feel happy or fulfilled in life if we're not living up to that purpose. As much as we would want to be a completely self expressed person, not afraid to speak our truth, to stand up for something, to be a person who actually takes on life and not allow life to take you on. Somebody who is courageous in the face of danger, somebody who stands up for people who are weaker, or animals, or children, or even the environment. If you have a calling inside of yourself and you take that on, it might frighten you, it might scare you, it might intimidate other people outside of you. But once you live in your purpose, life becomes worth living. When I talk to people and they say, life is hell, I think planet Earth is like a prison that humans have been sentenced to out of punishment. That lets me know that the person is not focused on what their purpose is in life. What are you supposed to be doing so that you don't feel trapped inside of life, so that you actually feel free as a living human being? We don't have to wait until we die to experience the goodness that God created. When He created all things, the goodness was already there. You were born blessed. You were already born with light inside of you. You were already born into God's love. You were already born into a family that loves you. You were already born into a world where the majority of people are peaceful. It's actually a very small minority of people that are evil and wicked. Scientifically, they say only 3% of the population is psychopaths and sociopaths. So for the most part, the world is safe and friendly. And you would find that out if you do some traveling and stuff like that. But the point is for you to realize that you were already born blessed. You were already born with light. You were already born with purpose. You were already born with potential and promise from God. So, regardless of how other human beings may carry on around you, even if you were born into a difficult family to get along with, you still were blessed from the start. And this video is about finding our way back to what God intended for us when we were born, and even before we were born. We've all been called forward for a purpose. Here's a quote. It says, "Great work is done by people who are not afraid to be great." So when you see somebody accomplishing things in life, don't assume that they're somehow different from you, better than you, or they're doing some type of magic and spells and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. You have people in the devil's network and they do dark magic to try to accomplish things in life. But we see from celebrities, for example, they wind up confessing. They sold their soul to the devil. Everything went bad. They lost everything. They have nightmares. They can't sleep at night. They see demons. Everything goes down after a short period of time, whatever people gain from doing black magic. But if you're focused on being your best self and living for the glory of God, who put the light in your body, who put your soul in your body, okay, this is a miracle that we can be alive and functioning and moving our head and our arms and our legs. This is a miracle. This is something that scientists are trying to do with robots. Scientists are trying to use artificial intelligence so that they think as human beings they can recreate the miracle of life that God has created in human beings. Scientists think they can transfer human consciousness into a robot or a computer, and a human is going to live forever as inside of a machine, because as we know, the human body is organic material that's biodegradable. What does that mean? When we pass away, the body passes away, the soul moves on. So scientists really think that they can capture a soul and a human personality and transfer it into a machine or a computer. It's not going to happen, okay? Because once you're, okay, I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes in more detail. I'm getting ahead of myself right now. First thing that we need to understand is, why are we born? We're not born to come to prison or to come to hell on planet Earth. We're born because we have a purpose, okay? And we become great people because we do great things. And then other people say, wow, that's an amazing person. That's a person I really respect. I admire that person. I look up to that person. Why? Because they accomplished something that was great. And hopefully it's something that benefits other people. A lot of times we give people a lot more credit than they're due just because they're rich or because they're famous, but they haven't actually accomplished great deeds that have solved problems for humanity. However, great work is done by people who are not afraid to be great. So if you take on a responsibility, even in your local community, you see a problem and you set out to solve it, that's how you build up your reputation to be known as a great person. I was reading something about some community activists. They put a stop sign in their community because on a particular corner, a lot of kids were getting hit by cars. So after there was a number of accidents, the people in the community, they just put the stop sign up themselves. That to me is an act of greatness. Just take control of the situation, come up with a solution, be active. Don't just sit back and watch things happen and don't try to be a part of the solution. Here's another quote: there is no heavier burden than an unfulfilled potential. So, what happens is, as we go through life, we notice there's all of these problems. When we don't do anything about them, we become burdened by the fact that there's something we could do, but we're holding back. Why aren't we taking action? Why aren't we being more alive? Right? Part of life is activity. It's not just passively observing what's happening, right? And what happens is when people fall back out of life and don't participate in solving problems or, being using their purpose to do good works and great things in the world and in life, that when you hold yourself back from actively participating, you feel burdened. Even if you haven't done anything wrong, it weighs heavy on you because you actually have the ability deep inside of you to accomplish great things. So why not? Why not accomplish great things? It's open for you to do that. And it's what God wants from us. God doesn't want us to just be a bump on a log and just sit back and say, yep, there's a problem over there. God wants us to shine the light that He put inside of us on other people, on other situations, on the world. Okay. Here's a quote that I found online that I thought was nice. It says here, you enter the physical body as a pure soul and possess your full human potential. That's who you are meant to be. That's the identity you want to choose and express. All right. So when we're born as a little baby, we came in blessed. We came in with light. We came in loved by God, by our family, right? And our soul came in pure, right? It's not until we grow up and start living life that things happen that affect us in a negative way. And that starts to make us feel like our light is getting dimmed. But that's not who we were meant to be. That's not how we were born. We were born to actually be active in fulfilling our purpose. And what we want to choose and express is the purpose that's inside of us. When we operate from our purpose, life goes a lot smoother. When we try to do things that's not suited for us, That's where a lot of problems come up. God saw everything that he made. Then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. Genesis 1 and 31. So everything that was created, God saw that it was good. There was never a time when God created all of the life and all of the animals and the humans and the plants and the lands. None of it was intended for bad. Everything was very good. So, how do humans come to this point that we are now in 2025? There's obviously conflicts all over the world. People are divided. People are having a hard time coming together on a number of issues. There are a lot of issues that affect all of us collectively as human beings. We need to be solving problems dealing with keeping the waters clean, the oceans clean. We need to be concerned about keeping air clean. We need to be concerned about if the land is clean, because if there's a lot of toxic chemicals and waste from trash and corporate products being made that are toxic, it seeps into the soil, that affects the food supply. So there are areas of life that we do need to be concerned about as a collective. How can we work together to keep the planet that we live in clean? Because if it gets too polluted, the water, the air, the land, we won't be able to survive as humans. Then our souls will have to leave our body. And then all of a sudden, we would regret that we didn't do better with what God gave us in the beginning. And so what happens is we get so consumed in human activity, thinking too much, working too much, worrying about things outside of ourselves more than anything else. We become so consumed with our jobs. We become so consumed with human drama, whatever conflicts are going on among our friends, our family, that we get overwhelmed inside of ourselves with all of the problems in the world. And that leads us to become either inactive, or we either become we check out and don't even want to be bothered with anything, or we become way too busy, start doing way too much. And those are distractions. When we actually focus on our purpose, instead of focusing on too many different things at one time, when we come from living in our purpose, we slow down and focus on what's important. Everything is not important. Everything is not a priority. But when we get too busy, we have too many things that we're doing, too many things that we're thinking about, we become overwhelmed, we lose focus. And that's the number one problem that works against living in your purpose is distractions. Once you find out what your purpose in life is, anything that takes you away from living in your purpose is a distraction. And you could pretty much say it's almost like a demon. Distractions are like demons. Now, that distraction could be watching too much TV. That distraction could be um, just hanging out a lot with your friends and just having fun, spending too much time having fun, but not enough time actually putting that time and energy into your purpose. It's like we make up things to keep us busy, either mentally or physically, instead of figuring out what our purpose is and making sure that we operate from that position. And all of that busyness, whether it's mental or physical, takes you away from your purpose, it distracts you. And so you become more involved in things that are destructive rather than constructive. So this is how you'll notice if yourself or someone that you care about, that you want better for, is distracted as opposed to living from their purpose. These are some of the things that we do as human beings when we're not living on our purpose. Some people, they start looking for attention. They start looking for validation in other people. Some individuals may fabricate stories as a means to gain attention or validation from others. This behavior can stem from a deep seated need for approval, recognition, or emotional connection. So when we as human beings don't know what our purpose is, and then we don't operate from what our purpose is, this is one of the dysfunctional behaviors that comes out of it. This is why we see people on the internet being dishonest. They're looking for attention and validation from the general public. They want people that they've never met, that they will never meet. They'll never know these people. And they just want random strangers to give them likes and views and thumbs up and say kind words to them and pat them on the back. You don't need validation from other people when you're living in your purpose. You will feel completely fulfilled. So if people agree with you, that's great. If people disagree with you, that's fine too, right? But when you don't have a purpose or when you're not aware of what your purpose is, that's why people go online and they start making up fake identities. They start saying that they believe in all of these good things and they really don't, because they're just saying that to get attention. They're just saying that to force other people to be like, "Oh wow, you're such a good person. You're really great." And they're lying about their whole identity. There's so many people online. I don't even want to call people names out right now. There's so many people online, and that's why people get exposed, because they say that they're about something and then they get found out that they're not. So why did they lie in the first place? For attention, for other people to give them validation that they didn't earn. Another thing, and we notice this online a lot as well, pattern making. Humans have an innate tendency to create patterns and narratives to understand the world around them. This instinct can lead to the formation of fictional stories, myths, or superstitions as people attempt to make sense of their experiences and surroundings. So we notice this especially on YouTube. People make up lies, they make up fictional stories, and they pass it off as the truth. I've seen this so many times. You have YouTubers who make up lies and they intentionally put it out there to get other people in trouble. They do it to ruin people's reputation. They go out of their way to try to make people lose their jobs, or if they have endorsements. And sometimes it's deserved. Like if somebody is online and they're being abusive and they're breaking the law and they're stealing money or they're scamming people, those people should get exposed. If your behavior is hurting other people and you're basically stealing money from people because you're telling lies, that should be exposed, right? But sometimes people just don't like other people. And then that's their only motivation of why they make up lies, to try to make that person lose their job, their income, their channel, if they're making money off of their channel, right? So again, these are the type of dysfunctional behaviors that people fall into when they don't either know their purpose or they don't live from their purpose. All right. And there's more explanations of that if you want to read that later on after the video is over. But basically, what happens is when you're not living from your purpose, you can become very dysfunctional and very unhappy. And you know what the old saying is? Misery loves company. So when you run into people online, they're living through other people. They're making up stories about other people that's not true. They're obsessed with celebrity culture and there's no substance to their commentary. They're living vicariously through other people. All of these dysfunctional behaviors come from not living from a place of the purpose that God put in you. So I want to use this as an analogy. I actually make copper jewelry with crystals and stuff like that. And for a while, I ran a business selling jewelry and clothing design and paintings. So I do a lot of different types of arts. And copper wire, after a certain period of time, it will turn dark brown. So I used to educate my customers how to keep the copper clean. All you need is table salt and a piece of lemon, and you can rub copper, and it will go from it starts to oxidate and turn dark brown, and it will get back to its shiny state once you rub table salt and lemon on copper. And so if you guys have any copper at home, whether it's copper plates and cups and decoration or earrings or something like that that's made of copper plate or whatever, or copper bracelets. Those are very popular because they have health benefits. Once the copper starts to turn dark, you can just rub it with table salt and lemon and it will shine back up. The reason I wanted to use this as an analogy is to say that this is like a metaphor for our spirit. When we're born brightly lit. We're born with light. We're born shiny. Everybody loves babies. The energy is so good. What happens is over time we accumulate some toxicity, and that starts to put a darkness over our light, but the light is already there. And so we do the spiritual spring cleaning, the practices and methods I'm going to talk about in this video, to shine us up again, to scrape off all of the outside darkness that's trying to cover us like a blanket. We're pulling that stuff off, okay? We're just returning back to what God originally intended for us, which is to be a bright light. All right. So the purpose of the spiritual spring cleaning is to scrape off all of the garbage that we've picked up, whether it's been from our family or from life experience. Wherever you picked up toxicity and drama and bad feelings, there are methods for scraping them off, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Because without a practice of evaluating yourself for how you're feeling, how you're doing, how your spirit is doing, if you don't have a practice for taking that type of self inventory, then you will get pulled down in life by things that happen that you don't like. And those things will add up, and you will continue to feel like you're dark, like you have darkness inside of you instead of light. And the only difference between the two is if you are actually being responsible for how you feel inside. From a psychology perspective, there is this system called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it basically says that once we feel supported, connected, physically and psychologically safe, we're able to take risks. It's the only way for us to reach our full potential. So it talks about being self actualized, meaning achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. It talks about your self esteem, which is prestige and feeling of accomplishment. It talks about love and belonging, intimate relationships and friends, safety and security, physiological needs such as food, water, warmth, and rest. So these are the basic needs that we all have as being a human. And if any of these things are threatened at any point in our life, whether we're children or adults, these are the key areas that need to be secure in order for us to then put our energy into our purpose. All right. So the first thing you want to do when you're evaluating, am I living up to my purpose? Am I living up to my potential? Is this why I feel unhappy? How do I work on it to improve my overall happiness with life so life doesn't feel like a prison to me? This is the first place to start looking. Okay. Are you self actualized? Are you out there accomplishing your goals? Are you creating goals for yourself to accomplish? Right? Do you have high self esteem? Do you have low self esteem? Do you feel loved and that you belong? Does your family love you? Do you have friends? They treat you with respect? Do you feel safe and secure? Right? Do you have food, water, shelter? A decent place to stay where you feel comfortable? These are issues that we're all responsible for once we become adults. If you're over 21 years old, it's your responsibility, no one else's. It becomes your responsibility upon adulthood to make sure that you secure yourself in these ways. And people may do better in some parts of it than others, right? You might work a good job and pay your rent and bills, but you may have low self-esteem. And that low self-esteem could lead you to have friends that talk down to you, that treat you bad, but you still hang around them. That low self-esteem could cause you to date people that are putting you down or using you or taking advantage of you. So these are the areas that you want to begin to look at to evaluate yourself so you can be honest with yourself about, am I providing myself with the best possible, you know, basis, the best foundation. That's the word I'm looking for, not basis. Am I giving myself the best foundation from which I can accomplish things in life? Or am I just getting by? Am I feeling like empowered? Or am I feeling like life is a big, like metal ball that's just rolling over me? Okay. And so we have this responsibility to look at ourselves closely. Take this seriously. Are you self actualized? Are you achieving your potential? Okay. Like I said, I work as a counselor, but I also have hobbies in the arts. So, are you doing as much as you can do that's on your heart and on your mind to do? Don't have to wear yourself out and make yourself tired. You just have to enjoy the choices that you make in life and enjoy the accomplishment of your goals. That's it. And that increases and improves your self esteem. Once you start to set goals for yourself and you start accomplishing them, that's when your self esteem actually increases and improves. And that increases and improves your confidence. And that increases and improves your ability to meet new people. It's like um one thing leads to another. Once you get one thing together, the next piece of your life falls in place better, right? When you start off from a solid foundation of you taking care of yourself, paying attention to yourself, and fulfilling your needs, then you become a person that other people look up to. That's how that works. A lot of people want to be looked up to before they're secure inside of themselves. It's a lot of insecure people that are out here on the internet faking their personalities because they want other people to admire them instead of actually living a life that's admirable because you create your own goals and then you accomplish them. People will admire you for that, for real. Don't get fake admiration because it falls flat and it doesn't actually make you feel good because you know it's not true and you know it's not real. Here's another quote. There is no man living who isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can do. Oftentimes we will sell ourselves short. We have an idea in our mind, we have a dream. You may have wanted to always travel to some place, but you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take enough time off of work. All the excuses in the world we make when we have a new goal, we oftentimes go into a series of excuses of why we cannot accomplish that goal. So it's part of life, but pushing through that is how we actually get things done. Just because you set a goal doesn't mean it's always going to be easy to accomplish. Some goals are very easy to accomplish, and some are a little more difficult, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. You just have to know that you can do it. And that's what separates people who accomplish things from people who don't. It's simply because people don't think that they can. Fear and self doubt have always been the greatest enemies of human potential. So the fear of what's going to happen, the self-doubt, will I be able to afford it? You can make a plan where you save money over a period of time, to take a vacation you've always wanted to take. You can put practices in place to accomplish your goals. If it's too big right now, you can break it down into smaller steps. There's always something that you can do to take steps towards the goals that you would like to accomplish in life. But when fear and self doubt kick in, that's often why people don't even start making the plans and setting them in motion, just off of fear and self doubt, right? So if you can recognize, I want to do these things, you make a list. This is what's on my heart. This has been on my mind for some time. You make a list, you look it over, see how you feel about each thing. Notice is the fear and self doubt is what's really holding you back. Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. All right. So there's a picture of a guy, he's swimming. He looks like a champion. He's built, he's muscular, his face is determined. All right. So this is basically saying that practice makes perfect, right? He obviously has been exercising, practicing in order to achieve this form and this physique. It takes time. So if you continue to make effort towards your goals, that's what's going to get you closer to accomplishing it, not just your strength or intelligence. We look at people in mass media that get celebrated, right? Like celebrity boxers or scientists that we see on TV all the time. And it seems like, oh, this person is strong. This person is intelligent. That's why they're rich and famous. No, there is a lot more people who are famous, but just, I mean, not famous, who are wealthy or rich, but not famous because they took their time, they focused on their area of expertise and they built it up like a muscle. You don't develop a muscle the first day you go to the gym. You go over time, you develop muscles. It's a work in progress. So, whatever your goals are, don't get discouraged that things don't happen immediately. As long as you apply continuous effort, you're going to get there. You're going to learn, you're going to grow. And once you accomplish those goals, you're going to feel like $1,000,000. And that charisma and that confidence is going to help you make better choices in life about the type of people that you entertain, about the type of content that you watch on YouTube. Like the more you grow, the more you outgrow people who are dysfunctional. Once you start to get rid of your dysfunction, you realize, oh, wow, that behavior is dysfunctional. So then once you stop doing it, you start to realize when other people are doing it. Another enemy to our progress and accomplishing our goals and reaching our purpose is the seven deadly sins. These are different dysfunctional behaviors that we engage in or people around us that we really care about engage in that have a negative impact on us and that cause us to start dimming our light. Our natural light gets dimmed by these type of toxic and dysfunctional behaviors and choices. So the seven deadly sins are envy, greed, sloth, lust, gluttony, pride, and wrath. So here's another quick way to evaluate yourself to see where do I need to work on myself to overcome these limitations, these weaknesses, so that I can either make them, turn them into strengths, or get them out of my life so that my strengths can shine through and I'm not just a victim of life. A lot of people that feel like life is prison, life is hell, life is punishment, they're trapped in some type of dysfunctional behavior that's dragging them down. And they're not going to feel better until they get this bad behavior out of their life. So, envy, desire to have a quality, possession, or other attribute that belongs to someone else. There's a lot of celebrities right now that's going through relationship problems. They're in relationships with partners that were married or in a deep relationship with someone when they met them. Now they have this person that they basically, you know, broke up that person's happy home when they took them in, and now their relationship with that person has gone down. There's so many celebrities I can name right now that are experiencing this. So when you met that man or that woman, they were attached to somebody else and you still came in there and got with them anyway. That's envy. You wanted what somebody else had, right? But that type of behavior, being envious and just trying to take things from other people because you want it for yourself, it doesn't work out. It doesn't last long and it makes you even more miserable after you've gone through all of the difficulties that come from taking things that were never yours in the first place. There's greed, a selfish desire for more of something than is needed. So you can be greedy with anything. You can be like the person who takes up all the energy in a room, the person who does the most talking, who talks the loudest, who talks over people, cuts people off, don't listen to people. But then these people who like to talk over you and cut you off and don't listen, they like to speak for the longest time. They want to talk for like 30 minutes. They can't be interrupted. They don't want anybody cutting them off and talking over them. They want to hog up all of the energy in the room and have all of the attention onto themselves. That's a form of greed, right? Especially with social media. We see people who are greedy for attention, right? Greed, people who hoard money. The executives who, for example, own Walmart, they make billions of dollars a year, but the employees are making close to minimum wage. That's greed, right? So then there's sloth, spiritual apathy and inactivity, right? Sloth is also physical apathy and inactivity, being lazy, not actually doing the things that you know that you should be doing. right? Life calls for us to get exercise. Life calls for us to have, relationships with other people outside of ourselves. Hey guys, it looks like my connection got interrupted a little bit, so I'm going to check the comments and see how you guys are doing. And let me know if we're still live because I got an error message. So, am I still talking to you guys? Can you still hear me? Let me see. Can you guys still hear me? My live went out for a moment there. I see Mafi in the chat, Bianca in the chat. Me and my mom love God so much and we are listening. Hi, Mafi. Hi, Bianca. Hi, Mom. Can you guys hear me? Are we back on? There was an interruption to the live, so I'm just checking the chat to see if you guys are still with me or if I need to stop and start over. Okay, let me check the comments. Oops, I done scrolled into somebody else's live. All right, I'm going to keep going. So, the next of the seven deadly sins is lust, a passionate and intense desire or craving. Now, unfortunately, the mass media, a lot of people are being negatively influenced by mass media into the deadly sin of lust. What do I mean by that? There is a saying that sex sells. So everything that thank you, Jackie, for confirming you can still hear me. So a lot of times with mass media, we get bombarded with a lot of sexual imagery and like just things that there's certain TV shows I had to stop watching because the amount of nudity that they're showing in series and television shows now is crazy. The amount of violence, people fighting like on reality television is crazy. But just like the amount of I don't want to be too graphic in my language, but there was like a show that I was watching. It was about some superheroes and stuff like that. It was like an Amazon original series or whatever. I'm watching it and I'm noticing randomly they you wouldn't even know what was about to happen. They would just start showing, men not dressed doing stuff with each other. Just bam, right on the screen, naked men. Like, ew. So you can't even prepare yourself to be like, oh, I'm gonna fast forward past this part. Like, and it's very bad. Like it happened very quickly. Like 20 years ago, you couldn't show like nudity on TV and stuff like that. Now all that stuff is out the door. They're showing a lot of graphic things, and it's like if you don't even want to, see all of that all of the time. It's just there in your face. And then what happens is people start to get kind of, I don't know, turned on by watching other people doing stuff to each other. And next thing you know, that spirit of lust is on you. And you wasn't even trying to, look for it like that. And then some people are just very much, they're not in control of themselves. So they feel, you know, aroused easily. And then they go looking to pass that off on other people. And so anybody who's been a victim of sexual harassment knows what I mean. You just have people who are creepy and they come at you, and because they like you, they don't care whether you like them or not. They're just going to keep trying to impose their will on you, and that's a spirit of lust when people don't have control over their sexual urges. And so they're inappropriate and dysfunctional with other people. And so it's just one of those things that happens, but unfortunately mass media actually pushes, I would say pushes this deadly sin more than the others. So there are a lot of people influenced to start behaving in this way, to start looking at each other only as sexual objects. It's a huge problem with women in general. As we get older, uh people start to kind of erase women or ignore women, or treat them like they're not valued members of society because they're no longer a sex symbol or a sexual object. Like, it's really bad. So this stuff really affects all of us, these seven deadly sins, even if we're not necessarily it's not the biggest problem that you may have. It's something we live with and we suffer the consequences of when other people are trapped in these deadly sins. The next one is gluttony, excessive eating and drinking, overindulgence. And this is something anybody can fall into because food is everywhere. You go to your friend's house, your family's house, everybody's trying to feed you. You go to a restaurant and buy food. The portions in restaurants is 2 and 3 times the size of what is recommended that a person should eat in one sitting. So again, society is kind of moving in the direction of the seven deadly sins, to where these things, these dysfunctional toxic behaviors, are normal everyday activities for a lot of people. Pride, a high opinion of one's own dignity, importance, merit, or superiority. And so, pride, in the scriptures, it says, pride goes before the fall. And people have this big inflated ego. I'm all this, I'm all that. I got money. Y'all are broke. I'm good looking. Y'all are ugly. Like when people start to think of themselves as better than others, and they start to feel like they're so superior that no one can challenge them, no one can give them advice, no one can humble them because they're better than everyone else. That's a dysfunctional way to see things. And all of these dysfunctions lead to breakdowns. And then that's when people say, oh, I feel like everyone's out to get me. Life is so hard. My life is so difficult. Life is hell. No, you are deep in a dysfunction. And until you bring yourself back to what God intended you to be, a shiny spiritual being that's full of promise and potential, that is still learning and growing, that is still a work in progress. If you don't see yourself as a work in progress that's still learning and growing, chances are you're in a dysfunctional behavior of not even realizing that you need to pull yourself back together. And the last of the seven deadly sins is wrath, a strong vengeful anger or indignation. So we all get done wrong. We've all been betrayed. Someone has lied to all of us. Someone has cheated on or cheated us out of something. Humans, we're all sinners and everybody sins differently. So we all at some point become a victim of, some type of injustice, right? And then we get angry and we want justice. And some people take appropriate methods of getting justice, and some people take matters into their own hands and they start conspiring on totally destroying whoever offended them. And the problem with wrath is the punishment doesn't fit the crime. When people become wrathful, they want to go overboard. They want to over punish people. They want to destroy people. And it's unfortunate because of the fact that we're all sinners. If you want to push the maximum punishment on people for doing something wrong to you, then that means that the maximum punishment should be pushed on you when you do wrong to other people. And that's what people leave out. Now, there should always be justice and retribution for people who are done wrong. There is but do it appropriately. Get the right amount of justice. Don't go above and beyond and overboard. When we're on our purpose and we're living from a place that God has put in us, right? So for me, my purpose is I'm a healer. My choice of healing arts are counseling. I'm a professional mental health and substance abuse counselor. I'm a life coach. And for more than 10 years, I was a strict vegetarian. So I learned a lot about all natural healing arts. So when people come to me and they tell me they have certain problems, I talk to them from the perspective of a counselor. I talk to them from the perspective of nutrition. I speak to them from the perspective of ministry because God also called me to ministry. So when I'm involved in any type of conflict resolution, I get, I'm happy. I'm excited to be a part of resolution. I'm happy to counsel people. I'm happy to talk to people about, how they can use these techniques that I'm giving you guys in this video towards finding yourself and living in your true purpose. This makes me happy. You can notice a big difference in my energy and how I'm delivering this video and how my energy was when I was delivering my last video. Now my last video, I did that video really late at night. It was like I finished that video at almost 2 o'clock in the morning, my time. So I was tired on that last video. This one is much earlier. It's like, much earlier in the day. So I have more energy, but the subject matter. The last video I was talking about how this gang of criminals got busted and arrested for all of this terrible, just bad activity. Okay. This video, I'm talking about, I'm using my purpose as a healer to share with you all how you can take control of your own life and begin to have more energy, more clarity, more peace of mind, and more happiness, and actually be happy to be alive, to be inspired, right? And so I feel good to even be the person to bring you the information. If nobody watches the video, and there's people in the audience, and thank you all for joining the live, but if nobody watches this video, I will still feel good. I will still feel that I accomplished a goal, because what I'm doing right now is a part of my purpose that God put in me. So you see how it's giving me so much energy and so much life, right? And so when we feel alive, we're active. We go outside, we hang out, we take a walk. You see people here riding a skateboard, surfing, riding the bike. They going on hikes, they taking jogs, they walking the dog. This is what life is about. It doesn't have to be a big deal, like some big extravagant party with designer clothes and expensive food. And that's not the meaning of life. Like the whole meaning of life is expressing yourself in ways that make you feel good. If it feels good to you to get all dressed up and go to an event, then get dressed up and go to an event. But only do it because it's something that excites you, not just to show off and get validation from other people. Post pictures on your social media. Oh, look at me. I went to a restaurant. Look at my plate of food. If you're a foodie and that's what you do, you try new restaurants very often because you like to try new food, that really might be something that makes you happy. But if you're just doing it for likes and views and attention, that means it doesn't really make you happy, and you're wasting your time and your money, and you need to not do that and spend more time focused on what makes you happy, what lights you up, and get into those activities so that you can be genuinely happy. Even if you're all alone, you don't need anybody else's validation when you're genuinely happy. Okay? See, you see a guy in the park, he's got his laptop, he went outside to sit down and work on his laptop. That could be the difference between him doing his work in a happy spirit versus him maybe staying at home and working on his laptop and feeling like, oh, I don't feel like working. I feel distracted. I don't feel like doing this. Maybe the difference for this guy is simply going outside and working on his laptop from a different location than from his home, right? You see people socializing. This guy is fishing. When you feel good, you usually do something very expressive, something that adds on to feeling even better. When you feel bad, you add activities that keep you feeling bad. So if somebody's angry, they might overeat. If somebody's sad, they might do drugs. If somebody feels lonely, they might go out and, have sex with somebody that they don't know very well. But what happens after you overeat because you was feeling sad? Now you feel guilty. What happens if you do drugs because you was in a bad mood and you wanted to make yourself feel better? Maybe you get really sick afterwards. Certain drugs make people very sick when they come down from them. So when we use a dysfunctional coping mechanism to overcome our bad feelings in the moment, it just creates more dysfunction. But when we replace dysfunction with healthy coping mechanisms, like going outside, taking a walk, changing the environment, take your laptop outside to the park and do your work outside instead of inside. These are healthy ways of dealing with life. And then after you've accomplished whatever the goal is, you feel better. You don't have like, oh, I made a bad decision of how I was going to handle the problem. So now I feel worse. All right. So this is how we take responsibility for ourselves and our lives. You can't, once you become an adult, you can't point fingers at other people for why you're unhappy. You always have to do the self inventory of who you are and how you're feeling, and then figure out what's the right methods that I can use to come out of a dysfunctional pattern and get into a functional pattern. And then I will feel better about life. Right. So here's another way, right? Because we're going through different techniques that we can use to get back to the light that God put inside of us. Here's another method that you can use to evaluate yourself, how you're doing, how you're feeling. The scale of energy vibrations. So at the bottom, we have shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, vanity, boldness, neutrality, readiness, adoption, mind, love, joy, harmony, and enlightenment. Okay. Now, depending on where you fall in this scale, is going to help you figure out what you need to do next and where you need to go next. If you're all the way at the bottom and you're feeling guilty, then you need to put some healthy coping mechanisms in place that will bring you up the scale more towards, you know, a more positive state of being. You don't have to go all the way to the top of enlightenment because that takes time in relationship with God. But you could shoot for, let's say, you could shoot for readiness. All right. You could say, I'm feeling guilty right now, but I want to feel readiness. I want to feel that I'm at least ready to move on with my life and get rid of these old toxic feelings. But the first thing you have to do is identify where you are on this scale. And then you can figure out where you want to be. Where am I at now? And where do I want to go? So if I'm in anger, I want to move up a few steps into, say, adoption. Adoption is acceptance, right? So if I'm angry, I want to move from anger to acceptance. How do we move from anger to acceptance? Well, first, be honest with yourself that how you feel is anger. Once you figured out that that's exactly how you feel, understand that anger is hurt. Somebody hurt you. And the reason why we say we're angry is because we don't want to be vulnerable and say, someone hurt me. I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt. I'm hurt by this person's behavior. We express it as anger, but the truth is that it's hurt. Now, once you accept that you're hurt, then you can say, well, moving forward, I'm not going to put, my faith and trust in this person again. Um, eventually I will be able to forgive them. You want to be able to forgive people. You might not be able to do it in a moment, but you do want to put it on your calendar as something to do. Forgiveness. Okay. I've talked in previous videos about 90 days of forgiveness. You put on your calendar day one, whatever today's date is, and then you put on your calendar when the 90th day is, when it's over. So you know that you've practiced for 90 days. And you basically every day you forgive yourself and you forgive others for behaviors that maybe in the past you would have overreacted to. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean that you keep allowing the same people to keep offending you. No, it means that you understand what happened, you accept that it happened, and you let it go because you understand that human nature is faulty, that we're all flawed and we're all sinners. Sometimes you are going to be the person that offends other people, and sometimes you're going to be the person that gets offended by other people. So if things are small and petty, let them go. Don't even make a big fuss. Just let it go because sometimes you're going to be that person. Now, depending on how big the offense is, some offenses you don't just let go. You take action. If somebody assaults you, you should definitely have them prosecuted. If somebody's stealing from you, robbing you, have them prosecuted. Okay. And then you can still forgive them and let it go. But get appropriate, justice. That's all I'm saying. Get appropriate justice, but be prepared to forgive them at some point in the future. All right. So no matter where you're at on this list, you can always kind of get a quick view of where am I? Where do I want to be? And then that can help you begin to find the steps of what you need to take to move from a low part on the scale to a higher vibration on the scale. This is important because if you stay stuck in low negative vibrations, the light that God put inside of you, it just gets darker and darker and darker and darker. These are the things that start to dim our light. And once our light gets so dim, we forget that we ever had light at all. And we start to think that life is not worth living. Okay? So that's why it's important to do your spiritual spring cleaning. You can do it any time of the year. You don't have to wait until spring. Anytime that you start to feel overwhelmed and you start to feel like your spirit isn't shining inside of your body, that's when you know it's time to do the spiritual spring cleaning. How do I get my light back? How do I scrape off and scratch off and scrub off all of the toxicity and darkness and crust that I've picked up from life's challenges? Okay. There's a difference between the spirit and the soul. The soul is the part of you that God puts in you. The soul, the spirit is your personality. Okay. The soul is this mysterious, is spiritual energy that only God knows what the soul is, right? The only three things that we can observe to know that the soul is a separate entity from the body, the mind, and the spirit. The soul is an orb of light that God puts in our body. God put our souls in our body, right? That soul is light. It's an orb of light. That light gives our body animation. That's what makes us walk, talk, move our arms, move our lips, move our feet and legs. Because when the body dies, the body no longer moves around anymore. You don't lift your arms and legs and talk and sit up and walk around and run and make dinner and talk on the phone. See, the soul is what gave us the animation that made the body move. So when the soul leaves the body is lifeless, it's empty. Okay. The soul is also, it's a light, it's a real light, right? It's animation, so it's energy. It's also our conscience. Not our consciousness, our conscience. Our conscience is that part of us that is God that knows right from wrong. Now we can use our mind, and this is how you know that the soul is separate from the mind. The soul knows right from wrong, but we can use our mind and lie to ourselves. We can tell ourselves, oh, I'm just going to tell this little white lie and no one's going to know and everything's going to be all right. But your conscience is telling you, don't lie. Don't do that. And then you tell your conscience, I can do it. I'm just going to do it this one time and everything's going to be okay, you know? So sometimes we justify a bad behavior using our mind, but our conscience still tells us, you're wrong. Okay? So that's how you know your mind is not your soul and your soul is not your mind. Another thing that we can observe that separates the soul from the other aspects of our existence is awareness. Okay? Your awareness. People who have had near-death experiences have reported they have been in surgery in the hospital and died in surgery and saw their body on the operating table. People have said that their soul was floating on the ceiling and they were looking down at their body and they were listening to all of the conversations that the doctors and nurses and stuff was having. And then the doctors do the procedures to bring that person back to life. And then the soul gets back in the body. And then they tell these stories. And you can find these stories on YouTube. There's so many near-death experience stories that you could find, right? And it just proves that the soul is a separate entity from the mind, the body, and the spirit. All right. So science finds proof of soul leaving the body. This may blow your mind. This article just came out April 12th, 2025, just a few days ago. Says what happens to us after we die. While theology explores the soul's spiritual journey, philosophy questions its role in consciousness and existence. Reports, and this is from the artificial intelligence, there are reports of light or a spirit leaving the body at the time of death are common in various cultural and spiritual contexts, often associated with near death experiences and spiritual awakenings. These experiences can include seeing a bright light, a being of light, or a spirit like form leaving the body, often described as comforting and warm. So you see, there's like a ghost coming up out of this woman's body as she's laying down in a hospital bed. There are people who have been the nurses or the caretakers in nursing home facilities, places where people pass away, friends and family who were there at the time that their loved one passed away, that have said, okay, and this also is stuff you can find on YouTube. People have talked about seeing a light leaving a person's body right before they died. In fact, there's even a couple of videos on YouTube, because I've seen one, where somebody filmed an elder in their family as they were passing away. And the moment they passed away, and you did see a small white light come out of that person's body, a small orb of light. All right. So once again, what I'm saying, there's light inside of you. God put light inside of all of us. I really mean it. People have seen it when it leaves the body, when the body passes away. And that goes to show that the soul is a separate entity. So we are not our bodies. Our awareness of being alive, our movements of being alive, our conscience that gives us information while we're alive, even if it contradicts the mind, right? All of this is the separate entity that is the soul. And the awareness continues after we pass away. Dr. Stuart Hameroff believes he may have found scientific evidence of consciousness, or what some might call the soul leaving the body at death. He quoted a study involving 7 critically ill patients where small sensors were attached to their heads just minutes before life support was withdrawn. As their hearts stopped and their blood pressure dropped to 0, something completely unexpected happened. A sudden burst of energy lit up the brain. We saw everything shut down. Then this final activity, Hameroff explained in an interview with the Project Unity podcast. It's almost as if something is still happening when there should be nothing. All right. And you've also had, there was an experiment done a long time ago with a doctor who claims, I don't know if the general scientific community accepted it or not, but I remember hearing about this. A doctor did an experiment where when people passed away, he weighed their bodies at the point that they passed away. He did it on like 6 patients, and he found that they lost 21 grams of weight. Now, 21 grams is not that heavy. I would think 21 grams is probably like a fruit, like maybe a orange is maybe like 21 grams, maybe a smaller fruit, maybe a lemon. Anyway, the point is, it's a small weight. It's not like a lot of weight. However, it was measurable that when the person passed away, when that light orb, the soul left the body, 21 grams of weight left the body as well, right? So science may or may not accept that as proof of a soul. But again, people have physically, visibly seen the orb of light leaving the body. But this particular scientist was able to show using measuring tools on the brain that right before the person passed away, there's a bright or a flash of energy, like a boom of energy, and then it's over. So once again, we're seeing that the soul is a separate entity. So that means that when your body dies, that's not the end of you. Your soul is still awareness. Your soul is still a being of light, of energy. All right. And it also, again, once again, proves that God is real, because this is something that humans have no control over and no understanding over. This is why I cannot understand how anybody could be atheist. All of these miraculous things are happening every day, all day. How does the sun stay up in the sky? How does the moon stay up in the sky? How do the stars stay up there? Right? Every day, all day, for all of the years of our lives before we were born and after our bodies pass away, the sun, the moon, and stars still going to be up there. How is that possible? This is a miracle. This is amazing. This is something humans have no control over, have nothing to do with. I don't understand how anybody could be atheist. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Back to more tools on how we can get back to who we are deep inside, which is a being of pure light and promise, purpose, potential, and possibility. That's who we really are. Deep down inside, underneath all of our hurt, all of our dysfunction, and all of our sin, we're still beautiful, purposeful beings of light with a lot of potential. All right. How does our personality impact our potential? So we have 5 personality traits. Okay. And this is an aspect of psychology. Psychologists have come to this simple conclusion on understanding what it is to be a human being. The more we can understand ourselves, the better life that we can make for ourselves. So let's talk about the 5 personality traits. And now we're getting into, how do you know yourself? Okay. People can tell you about yourself. They can criticize you. They can tell you that you're good at this and bad at that. But this is how you can know yourself, by these 5 traits. It's called OCEAN. That's the acronym. OCEAN stands for openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So, what is openness? Openness is, are you curious? Are you inventive? Are you consistent? Are you practical? Are you open to new ideas? Are you curious about finding out and learning new things? Do you create new inventions? Do you come up with new solutions to old problems? Are you consistent? Do you make a decision and do you stick with it? Are you open to a process even if it takes a long time? Are you practical? You know, do you find common sense solutions to problems? Conscientiousness. Are you organized? Some people are messy. It doesn't make you right or wrong or good or bad. It's just a matter of understanding that that's who you are, knowing yourself. Don't lie. Don't say that you're an organized person when you're a messy person, right? Be aware of who you really are in reality, in everyday life. How do you show up? Are you organized? Are you goal oriented? Are you flexible? Are you spontaneous? These are some of the aspects of being conscientious. Extroversion. Are you outgoing? Are you energetic? Or are you solitary and reserved? Do you actually take the initiative to, have events? Do you plan events? Say, I'm having friends over to celebrate an event. Are you energetic? You go out, take jogs, meet up with your friends to do activities, go out for coffee, go get your nails done with your girls, go play basketball with the homeboys. Are you solitary and more reserved? Are you an extrovert or are you an introvert? Again, it's not saying right or wrong or good or bad. It's just saying, do you know yourself? Do you realize your strengths and your weaknesses? Do you realize how you tend to consistently respond to different situations and people? That you have personality traits that are predictable? Do you know how predictable you are? All right, let's talk about agreeableness. Are you friendly and compassionate, or are you critical and rational? Okay. Which end of the spectrum do you tend to fall more towards? Neuroticism. Are you sensitive and nervous? Do you deal with anxiety, depression, feeling nervous, right? Or resilient and confident? Resilient meaning when things happen that set you back, You take the hit, you bounce back, confident. You feel like you can do it. You have a can do attitude. When you're sensitive and nervous, you're more tend to feel like you can't do things because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Okay, so it just depends on where you fall on the scale of how open you are, how conscientious are you, how social are you, how agreeable are you, how neurotic are you. Everyone is on these spectrums. Some people are really high in them, some people are really low in them. In my opinion, the whole purpose of life for all of us is to find a balance. There are going to be things that bother us, that make us feel depressed. If somebody really close to you passes away, you should feel some sadness and some depression, for a little while, for a few days at least, you know. But if you're just upset over small things, you're always easily angered and ready to fight people over the slightest offense, then you're way too high, in neuroticism. You're way too sensitive when you overreact. That's a dysfunction. And I think that's the problem with people. People don't like to admit that they are dysfunctional in some ways. You might be really um well trained and well mannered in some areas of your life. And then when something else happens that's outside of your comfort zone, you might go completely crazy and then ruin the whole event for everybody because you're screaming and hollering and yelling over something that most people wouldn't find to be that serious. So you have to be honest with yourself. Who are you really in reality every day? How do you affect other people? How do other people affect you? Are you even? Are you in the middle? Or are you really at a high in your emotions? Or are you really at a low point in your emotions? Or are you stable and even for the most part? All right. Another way to evaluate yourself is how you use your willpower, your free will. Once again, just like life is a gift that God gave us, so is free will, right? God gave us gifts. We begin to dim our own light because we get unhappy with how life has given us different types of challenges. When we don't like to be challenged, that's when we start to dim our light, but the light is always there. Okay. So, how do we evaluate ourselves? Here's another tool. Evaluate how you're using your willpower, your free will. It says here, this is from a book called Willpower by Ray, my thing is a little Roy Baumeister. He wrote a book about willpower, and it gives practical tips on how to master willpower in your life. It says here, willpower is a form of mental energy that can be depleted, leading to decreased self-control. This mental energy is fueled by glucose, and understanding its limitations is critical for improving willpower. Now, glucose is, you can get healthy glucose from eating healthy fats. Some healthy fats are like some dairy products, as long as you don't eat them in excess, are healthy fats. Um, Avocados are healthy fats. Um, Oily types of fish like salmon are healthy fats, right? Where you get omega 3s and other types of oils out of foods. So when you see here, this mental energy is fueled by glucose. You don't automatically assume sugar. Think of healthy fats. Anyway, the point is, understanding its limitations is crucial for improving willpower. Okay, mental energy has limitations. People think that if they do physical work, like people think that people who work like in construction are working harder than the people who work in the office who secure the contracts and purchase all of the supplies that the people do the construction with. No, both types of work are equally stressful. Mental work is draining and depletes your overall, even your physical energy as well as physical work. So don't ever think that people who do mental work are not working hard or that they're not drained and tired after a work day, just like somebody who used their body. Willpower is not an innate trait, but rather a skill that can be developed and strengthened. And the author emphasizes the importance of setting realistic goals, monitoring your progress, and persevering through setbacks to build willpower. So, what the guy was talking about in his book is a lot of times people don't accomplish their goals because they are putting too much time and energy into things that they don't want to do, so that when it does come time that they are able to do things that they do, when you finally able, let's say you work a 9 to 5 job, but you have a small business, right? Like myself, I do art as a small business. So if I'm depleted from doing things all day that I don't want to do, I have limited my ability to now have time in my day to do the things that I really do want to do. So the point is, it's important to schedule time, realistic time, right? So if you have a 9 to 5, you might want to work your small business on the weekend after you've had time to rest, right? And maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, you really, I observe the Sabbath, so I don't work on Saturdays, but on Sunday, I wind up doing a lot of things that I wasn't able to do during the week. And then I'm able to feel accomplished and I'm refreshed for work on Monday because I've accomplished the things I really wanted to do on Sunday. All right. But you have to be realistic with yourself and schedule the time so that you can get the things done that you really want to do, because that will give you more energy to deal with life and especially to deal with things that you really don't want to do. So this is a little more detail about the different personality traits I was talking about, because it's a combination between your personality. Your personality comes down to the things that you like and the things that you don't like, or your preferences and your biases. It comes down to your temperament, the things that upset you and the things versus the things that make you happy. Your personality comes down to your strengths and your weaknesses. So there's things that you like, things you don't like, things that you're really good at doing, and things that you're really bad at doing, right? And it's just a mix of opposites and where you fall on the spectrum of opposing things. And that's how you come to understand who you are and what makes your personality unique, because other people are going to answer all of these questions differently. So it's kind of hard for somebody outside of you to tell you what to do with your life, because only you know how you feel inside and what appeals to you, what you prefer, what makes you feel excited and inspired versus the things that don't. So if you guys want to take a look at this, when the video is over, you can come back and look at this more closely and apply it to yourself. Because again, everybody's going to read this over and they're going to find themselves to be higher in some areas and lower in some areas. There's not just like one way for everybody to understand themselves. You have to understand your own levels of what you like and what you don't like, and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Here's from a popular old psychologist, Carl Jung. He talked about how to find yourself or how to understand yourself and your personality. And this is from a YouTube video called How to Own Yourself. Carl Jung, he talked about the ego, the persona, the self, and the unconscious. Okay, so here's some more methods for understanding yourself, who you are as a unique individual, and how to get back to that person. The ego, according to Carl Jung, is the conscious mind responsible for our sense of self and daily functioning. The persona is the social mask that we wear to meet societal expectations. The self is the integrating element encompassing both the conscious and the unconscious. And the unconscious is the hidden reservoir of thoughts, memories, and emotions that influence us without our awareness. So, how do we integrate all of these different parts of the personality that Carl Jung identified? According to him, the way that we bring the different aspects of our personality together is through shadow work. According to Carl Jung, if we can identify these four parts of ourselves, the ego, the persona, the self, and the unconscious, that through shadow work, we can become one whole person. He talked about um, um, actually exploring the meaning of our dreams, writing a journal, and creative expression. That these are methods of finding out our personality, who we really are, what we really think, how we really feel deep down inside. He also talked about individuation, the lifelong process of becoming a whole integrated self by balancing the ego, the persona, the shadow, and the anima animus, the conscious and what is consciously known and what is unconscious or subconscious. He talked about different strategies for self discovery, self reflection, and journaling. Ask yourself probing questions about your strengths, weaknesses, and motivations. Active imagination. He recommended engaging in dialogue with inner figures or symbols from your dreams or imagination. He also recommended for people trying to find themselves therapy and group work and artistic expression, as well as mindfulness and meditation. So these are the strategies that a professional psychologist laid out a long time ago. Carl Jung, he probably put this information out 60, 70 years ago. And in terms of using older techniques that have already been put out there of how you can find yourself, find your strengths, find your weaknesses, find your purpose, find out what your temperament is. Be really honest with yourself about what you're really good at and what you're really bad at so that you can stay in situations that cater to your strengths. There's a lot of people who are in situations where they seem to be failing. They're sad, they're unhappy, they're stressed out, they're frustrated because they're not operating in their strengths. They're operating in their weaknesses. If all of your relationships with your partners and your friends are based on you trying to seek validation and approval, that would be the reason why you're not happy in those relationships because you came from the wrong place. You didn't come into it saying, I'm here for a give and take situation. Now, if you're in a give and take, I want to love and be loved, then you know when you're loving someone and they're not loving you back, or when they love you and you don't love them back. You know, like this is not a fair and balanced situation. But when you're there for just for validation and approval, just because you need people to tell you that you're a good person, then when you don't get that, because that's the only reason why you were in that relationship, or when those relationships end and that person is no longer validating you, then you start to think, I'm not lovable, I'm not a good person, I'm not worthy. But it's because that's what you was looking for in the relationship, as opposed to reciprocity. If you're in relationships and it's not reciprocal, you should get out of those relationships. Either you are selling yourself short, or the person that you're in a relationship with is taking advantage of you. And you can apply that to not only relationships with people, but also to the type of jobs that you take. You can totally be in a job that is abusing you, taking advantage of you, overworking you, underpaying you, not respecting your personal time. You can totally get into an abusive relationship with a job. But until you identify your strengths and your weaknesses and recognize and understand how you feel and respect your feelings, you won't be able to identify when somebody's doing you dirty, because if you're still looking for validation, you're going to stay through all of the dirty things that they do to you because you're still waiting for them to change and validate you again like they did in the beginning. But when you don't live for other people's validation, it's much easier for you to see, oh, this is an abusive situation, this is dysfunctional, this is toxic, because you're not waiting for somebody to make you feel good. Here's a quote from a YouTuber, Lewis Howes. Your competition isn't other people. Your competition is your self-doubt, your ego, the unhealthy food you consume, and the wisdom you neglect. The negative behaviors you are cultivating and your lack of courage and creativity. Don't compete with others. Compete with yourself, right? And this goes back to make your own goals. Make a list of things that you want to accomplish in life and start working on plans as to how you can accomplish them. Tell yourself, I can do it. Even if there's goals that you don't think you can do, tell yourself, I can do it. And then start to figure out how. How can I do it? What will it take? How much will it cost? Where do I have to go? Do I know someone who can fill me in on how I can get involved in this area that I want to get into? Are there some free classes on YouTube? Do I need to pay to go back to school? Whatever it takes, just be honest with yourself about what it takes and whether or not you're willing to commit to building up your muscle in those areas until you accomplish the goal. That's how you compete with yourself. And the only thing that stops you from making that list and then accomplishing it is your own self doubt. You're the one who tells yourself, yes, I can do it, or no, I cannot. And if you need help to make that shift from no, I cannot to yes, I can, get help. You can go to therapy. You can get a life coach. You can get one of your friends to be an accountability partner, who's somebody who holds you accountable. Where are you at on your list? What did you accomplish today? Did you take one action step that brings you a little bit closer to that? Okay. That's how you really start to feel like life is worth living, when you are captivated by your own purpose, when you are inspired and motivated by your own goals, your own ideas, things that make you feel happy. It has nothing to do with anybody else, and there's nothing anybody can do to take that away from you. And there's nothing anybody can do to give it to you either. It's literally something you have to take on yourself to accomplish. There's nothing anybody can do to give it to you or take it away from you. Here's a quote. It says, wouldn't it be miserable to devote that much of your life, meaning like a 9 to 5 job, 40 hours a week? Wouldn't it be miserable to devote that much of your life doing something you don't even care about? Something that doesn't inspire you, that doesn't light you up? We all deserve to do work that motivates us, work that doesn't drain us, that we're passionate about, that makes us excited to wake up and go do it again tomorrow. And yes, it should also bring in the kind of money that lets us live in abundance. Okay? So if you have some ideas of goals that you want to accomplish, it shouldn't like destroy your life. It shouldn't destroy your savings. It shouldn't cost you everything that you have. Okay? When you do things that are in line with your purpose and they make you feel inspired and alive and just happy, these should be things that benefit you and benefit other people as well. At least you. And if it benefits other people, even better. You should be able to make a living off of your purpose, right? An honest living, not hurting anybody, not stealing, not manipulating, not, because there's a lot of this going on social media where people are lying and manipulating to make money and also for attention. And that's how you know what you're doing is not your purpose. And the more people do that type of bad activity, when there's people who buy views, who buy subscribers. So it looks like they have like 1 million or more than 1 million subscribers. And it looks like they get so many views on their videos. But the minute they stop paying for those bots, you can always tell which YouTubers have been paying bots, because it will say they have over 1 million subscribers, but they get less than 5,000 views on their videos. That's how you know they're paying for their bots, that it's not real. And why do they pay for the bots and they pay for the subscribers? To make the numbers look high. Once they just trying to get validation from other people. They're trying to make money in a field that's not their purpose. If you have to lie and manipulate, you're not on your right path. That's when you're off the path. And you're doing whatever you're doing for the wrong reason. And unfortunately, a lot of times people just have low self-esteem. So they'll buy bots and they'll buy views and everything just to look good so people could leave comments like, "Oh, you doing good. Congratulations." They just want that encouragement, but maybe they it's just not in their it's not the purpose that God has put on them to be a YouTuber if you have to lie. Or it could be that their choice of content is not the purpose that God put on them. They're trying to do celebrity gossip because they feel like trending topics is where all the money is. And so people make decisions for the wrong reasons, and just the wrongness piles up and piles up and piles up. And then you see YouTubers come on and say, "Oh, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Oh, I had to downgrade. I know you saw me in a nice studio or a nice house for the most of the time I had my channel, but now I had to move to a smaller place, or I don't have that studio anymore." But if we really go back and unravel their time on YouTube, we see that their content was negative. It was toxic. You're not doing anything productive or progressive. You're just making content that would get the most numbers, the most shocking, the most salacious, the most damaging, the most slanderous. You're just doing stuff for attention. You're not doing it because you're trying to help people, or you're trying to solve a problem, or you're trying to bring awareness to something that's really important. And then you have YouTubers who are consistent on their message, and they have a high subscribers and they get big numbers and views because they're living closer to their purpose. Whatever topics they're bringing awareness to are things that is in alignment with the purpose that God has put in them. And so when they go out there and they deliver the content and they're passionate, like I found a weather channel. There's a guy who does a weather channel on YouTube. He has over 1 million subscribers. Though he did a weather report, I didn't even live in the area, but I watched it. He was so entertaining. The way he explained that bad weather was coming in, he did it with such style and a little bit of a sense of humor that even though it was a bad situation, that he's warning people like you need to stock up on goods and supplies because a tornado is going to hit soon or whatever. The way he just delivers the content was so uplifting as opposed to depressing and scary that he's got over 1 million subscribers, and people watch him for his delivery, not because they even live anywhere near him or to be affected by the tornadoes. Okay. So when you are operating from your purpose, you will get what you deserve. You will get the people who will support you, pat you on the back, subscribe to you, donate to you. All of that type of stuff will come to you. You don't have to worry about, "Oh, I have to force it. I have to talk about celebrities. I have to talk about all bad news in order to get attention because that's all people care about." That's not true. What you have to do is operate from your purpose. That's the only thing that you literally have to do. So, when it comes to working, there's a difference between what is called your vocation and what's called your profession, right? Back in the day, a vocation was considered something that is a natural talent or that you have a calling towards. Some people automatically start when they're little kids, they know how to draw really well, or they're really, really smart in a certain area. They're really good. They start reading at a very young age, and they can go to school and skip grades because they're so studious. They love to study. You have kids that are really good with learning multiple languages. Um, you have kids that are really good with mechanics, taking things apart, putting them back together. Some people just have a knack. Some people have a green thumb. They're really good with plants. They can grow all type of plants and all the plants look happy and full. Some people just have this natural ability to get involved in something and do it really well. So that was in back in the day, they used to consider that a vocation. And for the most part, it doesn't require training. They didn't have to go to school or get training and certification. It's just something they did in their spare time, and they just learned as they went along, and they enjoyed it, and it's just something that just became a part of who they were because they were so good at it and they enjoyed doing it. Whereas your profession does require training, education, experience, qualifications to work in specific fields. It involves mastering specialized knowledge and skills. There are professional associations, ethical codes, and processes of certification and licensing, such as becoming an accountant, a lawyer, a teacher, an architect, a nurse, and things like that. I really hate it when people say, oh, college is no good. Nobody needs to go to college. College is a waste of time. It's a waste of money. No, there are certain subjects that people study that's a waste of time and money. Like it's a waste to get a college degree in liberal arts because liberal arts is not like a profession. It's not like there's a job called liberal arts that you can say, oh, I got a liberal arts degree. I can qualify for this liberal arts job. But if you want to hire a lawyer or an accountant or a dentist, okay, or a doctor, you want somebody who went to college and graduate school. Now, all of a sudden, all of these people who like to open up their mouth and say, oh, college is not necessary. Nobody needs to go to college. Yeah, okay. Say that when you break your arm and you have to go to the doctor. You're going to go to a doctor that never went to college? You want the airline pilot to fly the plane that you're in who never went to school? Are you serious? Okay. So people have a calling, right? And then there are certain skills that need to be picked up through education and training. So we need to be realistic about that. Like I said, my purpose is to heal. I'm a healer. That's the purpose that God put inside of me. So I learned over the years holistic health. I learned about vegetarianism. I learned about aromatherapy. I learned about herbs and natural healing instead of invasive medical procedures, how to heal people naturally. But that's something I learned on the side in my own time. I have a row of books on my bookcase that's all natural healing books. Remedies, cures, recipes, aromatherapy, everything, right? However, I still went to college and grad school to work in the field that I work in mental health and substance abuse counseling. So it's not just about, oh, well, I'm a natural healer and that's it. I'm just going to read these books about nutrition and natural medicine and that's it. No, I still went to school and I still work a career where I heal people through mental health and substance abuse counseling because you have to be realistic, right? If I would have just went with being a naturopathic doctor, that's not as what's the word? It's not as reliable in terms of the money you can make from it as going to college and getting like a bachelor's degree in psychology like I did. You can't guarantee that you're always going to have clients come see you as a naturopathic doctor. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, but it's still not a reliable thing. Whereas with a bachelor's degree in psychology, I can work so many different places and still be in my field. So you got to be honest with yourself about this as well. You can have a calling, but you need to figure out how to monetize it for your own survival. A lot of times people have a purpose and a calling that's easy and it comes to them and they don't want to charge people for it. They're like, no, I want to give this away for free. Once again, the key to life is balance. Use whatever God has given you to make your life as comfortable as you can possibly make it. There's nothing wrong with that. The goal is to not be beat down by life. The goal is to feel like I'm doing the right thing. I'm helping the right people, or like some people are not. I keep referring to helping people because that's my purpose. I totally understand that there are other people. Their purpose is they're animal rights activists. They care about animals. We need people like that. There are some people who are environmentalists. They go all out to protect the environment. We need people like that, you know? So whatever area you're strong in that you feel the most passionate about, that's where your energy is going to be needed. Okay, so here's another tool for how to get to know yourself and how to get back to the light that God put inside of you. This is a Japanese technique. It's called ikigai, and it means worth or benefit. And there are four elements of ikigai. And it's basically the reason why people believe that Japanese people have longevity and happiness. Like you have people who do studies all over the world of like which people, what parts of the world are people the happiest and the most satisfied with their quality of life. So one of these places is in Japan, Okinawa, and they say the reason why they have such a long lifespan and they are happier for the duration of their life, like they don't get old and angry, like they stay pretty much happy and peaceful, and they enjoy their lives. In Japan has very low crime, so that's another kind of measuring stick for how society is doing. Like, what is the rate of crime? How are elderly people treated? How are women treated? How are children treated? You can tell how civilized a country is by these type of measurements of society. So there are four elements to ikigai in Japan where people experience longevity and well-being. And they say if you can get these four uh ideas in life, if you can get control over these four things, you can live a long and happy life. Or as long as you live, you will be satisfied with your life. You won't feel like life is hell and life is prison and God is punishing me. Right? These things that you can do to enjoy your life more. So you don't have to blame God for your failures, because God gave us responsibilities and we have to live up to them as being alive. So, the four elements of ikigai: what you love, activities that bring you joy, excitement, and a deep sense of fulfillment. Then there's what you're good at, skills and talents that you possess and excel in. Then there's what the world needs, contributions that positively impact others and society. Then there's what you can be paid for, pursuits that generate income and sustain yourself financially. Okay? So let's say somebody, a young boy, likes to play with Legos as a kid. That's his favorite toys. He has multiple Lego sets. He makes amazing Lego sculptures. He goes outside the box. He doesn't just make the figures that he sees on the box, but he can figure out how to put the Legos together to make things that are unique and different other than what, was on the pictured on the box. So let's say the kid loves Legos, right? And so it would seem that if he's able to create really awesome sculptures using Legos, it's almost like a talent that he has. Maybe the kid can grow up to be an architect, right? And so if he gets older and then he goes to school, it continues to take classes around spatial intelligence, moving objects around, making them functional. Maybe he learns about furniture design or home decorating or decor or things like that. And then when he gets of age to go to college, decides, you know what, I want to be an architect. Creating buildings and living spaces, that's a contribution that positively impacts other people in society. And he could be paid for it if he chooses to become an architect when he gets older. They get paid a lot of money, right? To do a project, it takes a long time to do those projects, to go from planning to um all of the legal mess that they have to go through to get all of the permits and zoning requirements for how tall a building can be and how wide it can be, and how many people that it can facilitate depending on if the neighborhood is commercial or residential. There's so much that goes into it. And then to actually do the construction and how much time that takes, and are people doing a good job at it. So there's a lot that goes into it, but the point is, a kid can go from just finding out that he wants to be an architect when he grows up just by discovering that his favorite toys to play with are Legos. You see, so one thing can turn into another just because you gravitated towards that. You got all these other toys. He's got little army soldiers. He's got, fire trucks. But for some reason, the Legos is what captivated his attention and what he put all of his time into. So that's what you want to look at in your life. What interests you? What captivates you? What can you sit and do for hours and don't feel like you're working? And then figure out if it's something you can make your career out of, and how can you use it to help other people as well as yourself? Never leave yourself out. You have to take care of yourself. That's your first priority. The big challenge is to become all that you have the possibility of becoming. You cannot believe what it does to the human spirit to maximize your human potential and stretch yourself to the limit. This is a quote by Jim Rohn. So it's a challenge to actually find out who you are. What are my strengths and weaknesses? What are my likes and dislikes? What do I naturally gravitate towards? What's my temperament? Am I sensitive? Am I insensitive? Do I have a great sense of humor? Do I have a poor sense of humor? Am I outgoing? Am I extroverted? Am I introverted? The challenge is to actually, excuse me, the challenge is to actually understand that you can do more if you get to the bottom of who you really are. And when you lean into your strengths and you start to participate in activities that play to your strengths, then you will have more accomplishments. When you have more accomplishments, you have more confidence, and then you feel like you can do more. And that's how you switch from I can't do it to I can do it, by actually proving it to yourself by doing the things that cause you to lean more into your strengths. So now, once you figured all of this stuff out, the next challenge is to actually, what this guy is suggesting is stretching yourself to the limit. I don't want this to sound like something that's stressful. It's not. You shouldn't be doing things that are stressing you out, wearing you out, or draining you. That's when you know it's dysfunctional and toxic. Pushing yourself to the limit of what you're good at is a matter of being consistent and excelling in your field. Okay? So, using myself as an example, I started out as a counselor when I first started in my field. At this point in my life, I've risen the ranks. I'm now working at a higher level. I just say I'm a counselor just to keep it simple, right? But I supervise other people. At this point in my career, I work at a higher level. I'm not at the same place that I was when I first started. Every few years, my title improved. It was a higher and higher title, and that came with higher pay, my own office. You know, you should be accumulating accolades and accomplishments that cumulatively uh increase. There should be increase from your expansion. But that means you have to continue to be trained, educated, learn more, try more new things. You have to keep adding on to what you already know, what you're already good at. You have to keep renewing that and making that a stepping stone to the next level. And that's my understanding of stretching yourself to the limit. It's not staying stagnant. So if a person goes, say they go to work in construction, then over the next few years, they should be training to become something more specialized, not just general construction, but now look to become a carpenter or a plumber or electrician. Like keep expanding and growing and learning in your lane, but keep doing better. So you're making more money, you're expanding, you're improving. You can do so much more than where you first start out at. Don't just get in a lane and stay at the lowest level. Reach for the stars. Continue to grow and do more and expand in your lane. Someone put a comment, they said, there's a lot of people out here running around with childhood wounds, triggering other people, and then cutting them off when they set healthy boundaries. They said, when you've healed and are protecting your peace, a lot of people want to come through and challenge that because they see that you're happy and don't need another person to validate you. You don't need a relationship to complete you and simply envy you. They want to try to make you act out, so that brings you down to their level instead of them doing the work to level up to where you are. And somebody replied to their comment, there are people like this at work. Let me just check the comments. Hi, Harlem Matcha. Okay, excellent. My channel is about God And to be honest with you, Harlem, those were the teachings of Jesus Christ, to actually worship God and God alone. So on my channel, we just talk about worshiping God and God alone, because that was the message. That was the overall message. So that's why I always say, just give your heart to God, because that's the source. That's who put our souls in our bodies. And to God is where our soul is going to return when the body dies. So I just want to encourage everybody, just work on your relationship with God. Don't put anybody in the middle, in between you and your relationship with God. Okay? So, because we're not perfect, we don't know everything, we're going to make mistakes, and we can always ask God for that clarity to help us get back on track. All of these techniques and tips that I'm telling you guys in this video is to just give you a place to start looking at how you can change your life from feeling like you're trapped or stuck or imprisoned or whatever, or being punished, and move out of that and into a space of, if I'm living in my lane from my purpose, I'm moving. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Life is working for me because I'm playing into my strengths. A lot of times, the reason why people feel trapped and negative is because they're just playing into their weaknesses and they don't even realize it, because they don't even know what their weaknesses are. And so once you start to get on top of this, the things I'm talking about in this video, you will start to notice other people, the reason why they're being rude to you, why they're antagonizing you, why they're stalking you, why they're harassing you. Why do people watch my content as Leilani for God? They repeat my messages. They repeat my talking points. They repeat my words because they want to look smart to their audience, but they don't want to say, shout out to Leilani for God, because they're looking for validation from their audience. That's why people steal other people's personalities. Instead of work on yourself so that you can become empowered and dynamic and energetic and happy, and really be that person in your real life instead of imitating somebody else's happiness. People try to imitate me because I've already achieved fulfillment in life, because I achieved that before I got on YouTube. I gave my heart to God like more than 10 years ago. I started repenting from all of my bad behaviors more than 10 years ago. I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish in my career field before I got on YouTube. I was already running a small business as an artist before I got on YouTube. So I didn't get on YouTube for validation. I didn't get on YouTube for likes and views and clicks. I did not get on YouTube for money. None of that. That's why my content is authentic. Whether people agree with me or not, I'm speaking from my heart and I'm telling you what I know to the best of my ability to be true. And the purpose is to help you. There's a lot of people I expose on my channel. I'm trying to help them, and I'm trying to help everybody that's been deceived by them. Just because people don't like being exposed and called out for their wrongdoings, it doesn't make me wrong for calling it out. I only call it out because it's hurting a lot of people. So by me calling it out, even though people are going to be mad at me, the healing can start once they acknowledge the truth. What you're doing is wrong. You're abusing people. You're stealing from people. You're lying to people to get donations. When people stop lying for validation, they start to feel better. They start to live a real life. When people stop just watching negative content, people just screaming and yelling and hollering, and that's all they do. They never come to a resolution. They never come to a point of recognizing that they're wrong too. They never come to a place of recognizing that forgiveness has to come in play at some point, right? You have people on YouTube that's been fighting each other for years. They never realize at some point you have to forgive. You have to move on. You have to let it go. It's toxic. And, they just don't understand that they're only making their own life more difficult. They're dimming their own light. They start to lose their light and become more and more dark over time. Anybody that's been watching YouTube for a long time, I'm sure you've seen it. You start off with a YouTuber and everything's fine, and then they start getting into it with other YouTubers and they can't get out of it. I went through that phase on YouTube. I had like a whole year I was getting into it with other YouTubers. And then eventually I said, you know what? This isn't working. I don't like being toxic. Um, I got a lot of views when I was being toxic. I got way more views than I get now that I'm being positive. That's okay. But Once I got over it, I apologized and I said I was wrong. I should not have, went so far into being angry with people. And I practiced 90 days of forgiveness and I let it go. Once you catch yourself doing something wrong, now you become responsible for doing what it takes to walk yourself back so that you can get back to your light. And now I'm back to my light. And so now I sit back and I watch, other YouTubers and without saying any names, but people are still in that dark, toxic place that they were a year ago. Right? And I've been working on myself so that I'm not bothered anymore. It's like I know that this is going on, but I already addressed it. I was honest about it. I called it out. I moved on. That's it. Next. 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 And when you can't move on, that's another way that you know that you're stuck in a toxic pattern. So like I said earlier in the video, you can take lemon and table salt and you can scrub off copper and get it back to its original shiny state. So this is the original state. And this is what happens over a period of time that it's been hit with water and air. It starts to get rust on the outside. But with some simple salt and lemon, you can rub it, rub it, rub it, and it will shine again like brand new. And this is a metaphor for our spirit. We start off shiny and brand new as a baby, full of potential and promise. And then over time, we go through so much stuff. We start getting a little crusty and dirty. And some of the stuff we go through is because we don't believe in ourselves. And sometimes we go through stuff that gets us all crusty and dirty because other people try to bring us down to their level. However, regardless of however you got crusty and dirty, what you need to know is if you follow these tips and techniques that I'm sharing with you in this video and you apply them to your life, you can start to scrub all of that crap off of you and get back to the light that God put inside of you to begin with. You were always blessed. You were always loved. You were always a being of light. It's just life circumstances have made you close off your light and turn it down for different reasons. But you can always welcome to turn it back up as long as you're willing to do the self inventory. Now, let's say people watch this video and they don't do the things that were suggested. I gave you guys about 4 or 5 different interpretations of methods that you can use to scrape off the darkness off of your being and become your bright shiny self again. Let's say people watch the video and they don't listen, or the people who need to watch the video, they never do. Like whoever is watching my video right now, y'all might actually take these strategies and start applying them. And what's going to happen is you're going to notice other people, right, who are not doing the work on themselves. And you might even want to try to help them, right? And you should. You should say, you know what? I saw a great video on YouTube by Leilani for God. I think you should watch it. See if any of these strategies could work for you, right? Just be nice and try to help people as much as you can, but also separate yourself and detach yourself if people are not doing the work to improve themselves. Because the only thing that people can do when they don't work on themselves is try to bring you down to the darkness that they feel, right? After you've scrubbed all of the crap off of yourself and you've become your beautiful, shining, bright self that God intended you to be, other people who have not done the work, they're going to look at you and try to find ways to poke at you and pick at you because that's where they are energetically. The problem with that is low frequencies, low vibrations actually lead to sickness and death. And I mean early death. According to scripture, we're supposed to have a 120-year lifespan. For the most part, very few human beings live over the age of 100 in the world. And it's because we have a lot of toxic behaviors. We eat a lot of junk food. We have a lot of stress. You know, we as a collective human race all over the world have a lot of toxic lifestyles that contribute to our early death, right? That's not God's fault. That's human doing that has decreased our lifespan. Anyway, so scientists have measured Okay, they've used instruments to measure what type of frequencies are emitted in megahertz from the body. Okay, so the brain normally emits a frequency between 72 and 90 megahertz. The body overall emits a frequency of 62 to 78 megahertz. The heart is giving off 67 to 70. The liver gives off 55 to 60. The pancreas gives off a frequency at 60 to 80. And then disease starts at 58. Okay. So if any part of your body lowers in its frequency, and once it gets down to 58, that's when potential disease could start to set in. Okay. Now, the funny thing is, it says here the liver frequency is 55 to 60, and disease starts at 58. What's interesting about that is that the liver performs over 500 vital functions in the body, including filtering blood, breaking down harmful substances like alcohol and drugs, and producing essential nutrients and proteins, such as albumin and bile. It also regulates blood sugar levels, it changes harmful ammonia to urea, and breaks down old red blood cells. Additionally, the liver stores iron and vitamins, and it is crucial for digestion by producing bile, which helps break down fats. Okay, so it says disease starts at 58. The liver's frequency is normally 55 to 60. To me, this is a testament to how miraculous God is. First of all, the fact that we have a body, organs, blood, eyeballs, ears, fingers, nails, teeth, bones. This is amazing. Just being in a body is a miracle. That God could put a soul in a body, and the body is doing all of these functions at the same time. The reason why the liver frequency is at the level that disease starts at is because the liver is processing all of the toxins that flow through our body. This is how amazing God is, that we have an organ that is responsible for filtering all of the garbage that we take in. Okay? And we're still alive. However, if other parts of the body drop down to that low frequency of the toxic waste that comes through your liver, disease will set in. Okay. So even if people are listening to this video and they think, oh, I don't need to do spiritual spring cleaning, I'm fine. But you know you're miserable, you're unhappy, you feel trapped, you feel stuck, you hate your life, you think God is punishing you and nothing ever goes your way and everybody's bad. If you're trapped in a negative cycle, you are bringing down the quality of your entire physical body. And once your frequency starts to drop low because of your negative thought patterns over a period of time, disease can set in. Doctors have more and more as the years have gone on been saying that stress is the number one contributor to the degrading of the physical body. Too much stress. It could cause heart attacks, it could cause strokes, it can cause high blood pressure. Even when people have mental health issues like anxiety, panic attacks have a physical effect on the body. It increases the heart rate. It raises the cortisol in your system, your stress hormones. And when you have a lot of stress and you start getting that adrenaline flowing through your body and it's not necessary, it's toxic. It's a toxic chemical. So for people who watch the video and they just think, oh, this is just fluffy stuff. Oh, who cares about your spirit? Oh, who cares about your mental health? Who cares if you're happy with life or if you're sad with life? Who cares if you think life is hell, is prison, is this, is that, it's bad. You're being punished. That's why you're here, is to be punished in a prison. Thinking like that is only going to bring you down even lower and make it harder for you to actually heal your life. God has put all of this amazing, miraculous, holy, glorious technology inside of us, inside of the body, and then put the soul inside of the body. This is something that I was saying at the beginning of the video. Scientists are trying to put human consciousness inside of robots, inside of computers, It's not possible because that part of us that animates our body is the soul. And when the body dies, the soul is going to go back to God. But in the meantime, look at the body that God has given us. This is amazing. This is unbelievable. I would almost want to say it's impossible, but it's not because there's almost 8 billion people in the world. We all have a body that has all of these organs in them moving and functioning and keeping us alive. When we go to sleep, our lungs are still breathing. Our heart continues to beat. The blood continues to flow through our body even while we sleep. This is a miracle. This is all proof that God is real and why we should be happy, thankful, and grateful. Because as soon as we get hurt, as soon as we get injured, as soon as you catch a little cold, you realize, oh, wow, I wish I could get up and go do all the stuff I really want to do. Even when you catch a cold and your nose gets stopped up, you can't even taste your food. You like, oh man, it's like you forgot how good food was until your nose got stopped up and you couldn't taste it. If you hurt your foot, if you bang your foot on something or you get a broken toe or something like that and you can't walk for a week or two or whatever the case may be, that's when you start to realize how much you really should value your good health. That being able to walk around healthy and strong with no aches and no pains is a blessing. People don't know what a blessing is. It's a blessing to be alive. It's a blessing to be healthy. It's a blessing to have your full capabilities of your body. Because when you get old and sick and tired and you can't do all the things you used to do, that's when you're going to realize how amazing and wonderful it was to be able to do all the things you could do. Count your blessings. That's another reason why people are miserable and they think life is hell, because they're not counting how many good things are working out and going their way. They're only counting the times when things don't go their way. Your perception. You cannot receive what you cannot perceive. If I can perceive that I am blessed right now because I have a nice home, I have food, clothes, shelter, my refrigerator is full of food, I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm walking, I'm talking, my whole body works, I have no sicknesses. I'm completely blessed right now just for the few things that I just said. That's blessed. And you have people who do have a decent place to stay. They have food, they have clothes, and they still think life is hell and life is prison. Like, no, you're not counting your blessings. Once again, disease in the body, okay? Colds and flus start at 57 to 60 megahertz. Disease starts at 58. Candida overgrowth starts at 55. Receptive to cancer at 42 megahertz. Right? And this is human body frequencies that have been measured by scientists. It says down here, who loves a bit of science? Everything is energy. Everything in our existence is connected to a field of electromagnetic vibrational frequencies. And as we know, everything made of atoms which produce, emit, and receive energy which operates at a specific frequency. Even our emotions and thoughts have their own electromagnetic fields, as do viruses and bacteria. Okay? So once again, this video I'm making for you guys is super important. It's not just about spirituality. It's about how if you don't remain true to yourself and who you are as a unique individual, and you don't stay on the path of who you are, you can literally destroy your own life. The first thing that, as a counselor, when I work with people and I talk to them and they say, I can't do this, I can't do that, this isn't working for me, that's not working for me, everything's falling apart. My friends turned on me, my family turned on me. Whenever people tell me a long story that everything's going wrong, I listen to them, I let them say everything they want to say. And when they're finished, I say, and what are you doing to contribute to all of that? Because all of that can't happen without you helping it happen. Some of those things can happen. Yes, you can be totally on your purpose, doing the right things, and people could betray you and turn against you. But everything is not going to go wrong if you're doing everything right, or if you're doing your best to stay on your path. 9 times out of 10, the reason why people get in trouble, the reason why people get on drugs, the reason why people go to jail, the reason why people lose their friends and family is because they're involved in dysfunctional behaviors and activities. And eventually That's what causes everything to break down. Until you address how you're being dysfunctional, you really are not able to take control of the situation and change it for the better. It says here the adult human body is estimated to contain approximately 37 trillion cells. This figure includes both human cells and a roughly equal number of bacterial cells that reside within the body. Some estimates vary slightly, ranging from 30 to 37 trillion human cells. So it's even hard to just quantify what is 1 trillion, okay, let alone 37 trillion cells flowing throughout our entire body all day, every day. And we are not the ones that's making it happen. That is the power of God flowing through our body. We don't sit here mentally and go, okay, blood move through my arms and my fingers and my legs and my toes and my scalp and my eyeballs. We don't have to tell the blood what to do and where to go, or oxygen. We don't have to tell the liver, listen, I'm about to eat and I need you to break this food down and make sure that you filter out the bad stuff from the good stuff. It happens because God set it up like that. So recognize that you're blessed, that your soul was even put in a body, and the body is carrying out functions that you don't even have to interfere with. Start from the premise that you are already blessed. You were already born blessed. You were already born with light. You were already born loved. If nobody loves you, God loves you. That's why you're here, to live your unique purpose. Other people are not responsible for you once you hit 21. Now you become responsible for all of the blessings that God put in you before you were born. What do I do with this light that God has put in me? How do I make it work for me? How do I make my blessing a blessing for myself and others? Human cells perform a wide variety of essential functions, including providing structure and support, facilitating growth, enabling energy production, and ensuring proper cellular function through various processes like metabolism and communication. They also play a crucial role in tissue formation, organ development, and overall body maintenance. Again, this is a miracle. You got 37 trillion cells, and each one of them is providing structure, support, growth, energy, and it's doing it well. 37 trillion of these cells are all busy, moving around in our body at all times. We are blessed. God has set us up not for failure, but for success. God did not do all of this work and put all of this together for us to say, this is jail, this is prison, this is hell. No, that's your perception because you're not taking control of your situation. Your life is your world. That's your world, your life. And it's your responsibility to make sure that things are moving in a way that's healthy, in a way that's positive, in a way that's progressive, in a way that's productive. Because that's what all of the cells in your body are doing. All of the cells in your body are like, what am I supposed to be doing? That's the right thing to do. That's keeping this system healthy. That's circulating the blood, circulating air, circulating oxygen, removing toxins, keeping all of the organs functional. Your body is working hard to do the right thing. There are different types of cell in the human body. It says at the start of their lives, cells are identical. These are called stem cells. Depending on what organism they are in and what specific job they need to do, they become differentiated. This means that they change in order to perform a specific function better. These are called specialized cells, and there are many different types of this cell in the human body. Okay? So obviously we all are here because of sperm cells. Ha 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 ha. Okay, but it is what it is. But what's interesting is that all of the cells start off the same. They're called stem cells. But when they get broken up and sent to different parts of the body, they become different. So a sperm cell looks different than a white blood cell. An egg cell looks different than a red blood cell. Or a hair cell, a root hair cell, looks different than a muscle cell. So they all start off the same, but as they function in different parts of the body, they become different over time. If that's not a miracle and the power of God, I don't know what is. But the reason I'm saying all of this to say about all of the cells and the organs and how they're alike and how they're different, all of this hard work is happening inside of you to prop you up, to make you comfortable and make you capable of being productive. God did not do all of this for you to put you in jail or to put you in hell on earth. God put all of this packaging inside of us to make us have the ability to be successful. You have to add your free will to that to make it do what it do. The body is muscle, skin, bone, organs, blood, tissue, oxygen, all this stuff inside of the body. You think God really put all of this work inside of you to put you in jail and put you in hell? That don't make no sense at all. Scripture clearly says God made everything and saw that it was good. We are the ones that now have to carry the torch and make it do what it do. If you make the Lord your refuge, if you make the Most High your shelter, no evil will conquer you. No plague will come near your home, for he will order his angels to protect you wherever you go. Okay, so life is hard. We get hit with challenges all the time. It doesn't mean that God doesn't like you and God is not with you. If you need help, pray. Say, God, I've tried everything I can. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what to do. I'm sad. I'm lonely. I'm hurt. I'm calling out for help. And you don't have to wait until everything goes bad to call out for help. A lot of times that's what we do as humans. We wait until everything is terrible and then we ask God to help, right? You shouldn't wait to the last minute, but you can if you do. God still loves you and God still hears prayers and still answers prayers, right? But when it comes down to you've done your best, okay? Definitely always you still have another option. If you've tried everything I've talked about in this video and you still feel down and you still feel like you don't know what your purpose is, pray. Say, God, please reveal to me, what is my purpose? That's how I found out what my purpose in life was, to heal. I was in deep prayer for hours. Okay. I was upset. I was going through some things in life and I was like, I don't even understand what's going on. I'm unhappy. And I prayed for hours unceasingly. And eventually I said, well, God, what is the purpose of my life? And God said, your purpose is to heal. And I was like, wow, just like that, but unfortunately I waited until I was having a major breakdown. And that's the interesting thing about God. At that point, I was probably having a temper tantrum. Like, God, why is life so hard? Why is everything so difficult? And in that state, I was like, what is my purpose? And God revealed to me what my purpose was. And the interesting thing was, sorry guys, I don't know why my throat is now acting all choppy. The interesting thing was, when God told me my purpose was to heal, I was already in my purpose. I was working as a counselor. And that was a time in my life when I was vegetarian. I was vegetarian for like 10 years. So at that time, I was already studying various healing arts. And so when God revealed to me that that was my purpose, I was like, wow, I'm on time. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that helped me to clear up from the crisis that I was having at the time. I was very upset. I had just broken up from a long-term relationship. I was engaged and we broke up and I was heartbroken. And so I had a whole breakdown. I was just crying out like I'm so mad. I was just so upset. That was the only thing that was going wrong. I was still working full time. I still had my own place. I wasn't like going through everything. That's just the only thing that was happening. But a heartbreak is devastating. It feels like somebody died. So there's a lot of grieving that has to happen. You're used to being with somebody every day. Now you're not. So it takes time to separate yourself from what you was used to. So I was heartbroken. And I cried out to God and I asked a lot of questions and God answered them. But I was talking to God from a place of almost having a temper tantrum. I wasn't even being humble. I was angry. I was upset. I was hurt. I was in a negative place. And God still answered me. Okay? So do what you got to do. If everything fails, take it to God. And you know what? Even if everything's going right, still take it to God. Don't wait for everything to fail to take it to God. All right. So, why is all of this important? Once again, if you are feeling low vibrational emotions, shame, guilt, apathy, grief, and fear, things like that, that is associated with suffering. And suffering is associated with poor health. And poor health is associated with an early death. Okay? So God did not put a light inside of you for you to come to earth and crash out and die early because you just stayed in a state of suffering when you have options. You have options to move more towards healing. If you can identify your emotions, you can say, you know what? I feel fear. I feel desire. Like I want more out of life. I feel anger. I feel prideful, like I'm better than other people, I'm superior. At least you start to identify that you having some type of emotions, but you want to work towards a higher frequency. That's how the healing begins. Once you put a name to what you're going through and you're clear that that is what the issue is, then you can start putting practices in place and start moving in the right direction back towards the light that God put in you. When you start moving in towards courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, you start flowing in the right direction. Once you start moving into reason, love, joy, peace, and eventually enlightenment. Enlightenment comes as a result of time. Once you worked on your relationship with God and you've taken all of the middlemen out of your relationship with God, scripture clearly says, God says, there is no one beside me. God says he is the only one that is your savior, and there is no one beside him. That's when you start to reach enlightenment. If we break down the word enlightenment, like just for how it looks phonetically, in light, in mint, you could, I could take it as, or how I do take it as, enlightenment is internal light in your mind, meaning your understanding, your perception is spiritual, not just physical. If all you think is that life is just a matter of being on earth in a body, you're not enlightened. If you are aware that one day your soul is going to leave your body and go back to God, if you have a good relationship with God, you can achieve enlightenment. If you don't have a good relationship with God, you probably feel dark and you probably feel empty. You'll probably feel remorseful, regretful when your soul leaves your body. And there are people on YouTube who've done videos on near-death experiences. And some people have said they've gone to heaven. Some people have said they've gone to hell. The people who said they went to hell, they said that when their body died and their soul went up, that God told them, I don't know you. Depart from me. And you can watch these videos on YouTube. Multiple different people of different ages, different races, have made these videos where they talked about their near-death experiences. Some of them saw heaven and some saw hell. But one thing that a lot of people who saw hell had in common, they said God told them, depart from me. I don't know you. So that's why you want to start working on that relationship before you pass away. Anyway, back to life on Earth. Sooner or later, those who win are those who think they can. So part of the process towards winning in life, winning at the game of life, being a human, being an adult, taking care of yourself, and enjoying the process of being alive. The better you feel about your capabilities, the more you can accomplish. If you have a spirit of, I can do it, you're going to accomplish more goals than somebody who starts from the premise of, I can't do it. Okay, so the minute you start hearing yourself say, I can't do something, tell yourself, I can do that. Now, granted, I might not be able to do it well, because that's not my expertise. I'm not trained in that area, but I can do it if I applied myself to it. Okay? So always have a can-do attitude. Now, here's how you know if you really are either yourself, a high vibrational person, or if you're a low vibrational person. Here are some ways that you can figure that out. Because the problem with being human, and we all do it, human nature is we always assume that we're more and bigger and better than what we really are. Nobody really wants to say, I'm a low vibrational person. Nobody, I don't think anybody really thinks that of themselves. But some of the most negative, most lowest, most darkest, most hateful, nastiest people, and I'm sure y'all see this on YouTube, some of the worst people on YouTube swear they're the best people ever. And it's funny because really negative people, they tend to always talk about how good they are. They always trying to convince you that they're a good person. So we need some ways to measure this just objectively. I don't care what you say about yourself. I'm going to look at your actions and your behavior. And here are the signs of a high vibrational person, whether you or somebody else. Positivity. It's the high vibration folks who could remain positive, looking at the bright side. So when something goes wrong, do you go, this is a learning lesson, a stepping stone. I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to work to make sure that I protect myself, in the future so that I don't continue to make bad decisions. And I'm going to do better. That's making the best out of a bad situation. Okay. And returning to a positive frame of mind. Some people are just always in a good state of mind. They always see the good side of things. And they know that when something bad happens, they'll just be like, this too shall soon pass, as scripture says. It's not going to last forever. This is a bad situation right now, but things will improve with time. Here's another way to tell if you're dealing with a high vibrational person. Do they have empathy and compassion? Deep understanding and compassion are the signatures of high vibe folks. They have a natural tendency to understand and share others' feelings, thereby fostering care in deeper bonds. Now, what we see on social media, the most narcissistic, most hateful, abusive, toxic, verbally garbage spewing people tend to have the most following, the biggest audience. People donate to them, even though they are so abusive and so mean and so rude and so toxic, right? And that's why it's important to do this spiritual spring cleaning, because if you don't even have the tools to identify what you're dealing with, you don't even realize that you're supporting somebody who's bringing you down. People are donating to people who's bringing their vibrational frequency down. They're contributing to their own demise. But then you have YouTubers that are kind, considerate, empathetic, compassionate. Nothing. They don't get any traction. People seem to be generally attracted to toxicity and garbage. But if you want to enjoy your life and you don't want to feel like you're living in hell, you want to be on a higher vibrational scale. Number 3, gratitude and appreciation. High vibrational people are in a continuous state of appreciation for the small things in life. One feels grateful for the various kinds of blessings surrounding themselves, and the positive energy increases manifold. All right. So the more gratitude and appreciation you have to God, the more higher your vibration is. And it's just like you give your positive gratitude and appreciation to God, and then God increases the abundance in your life. It's like a back and forth relationship. The more you appreciate, the more God will give you. But if you don't appreciate what you have, then why should God give you more? Because you don't want it. You don't appreciate it. You don't like it. You're not going to take care of it. Number 4, emotional resilience. This category of people beautifully handle the challenges thrown in front of them. Okay? So life is a series of contradictions. Every time you turn around, there's a problem that needs to be solved, and you can handle it. There's challenges and you handle it. You get hungry, you make some food, you order some food, or you don't have to always cook your food. You can eat fruits, you can eat salad. There's a lot of food you can eat without cooking it. You can make a sandwich, you You make a smoothie. I mean, you know, you have a problem, you find a solution. That's appropriate. You don't just go, I'm hungry, my stomach hurts, I have a headache. No, that's not a solution. Number 5, self-improvement. High vibration people have this enthusiasm for personal improvement and they strive to be their best. Okay? So when you meet new people and you're evaluating, should I date this person or should I make a new friend of this person? One of the things you want to look for if you're taking care of your spiritual well-being, you want to see if that person is also into self-improvement. People that are not into self-improvement, guess what? They're not going to improve. All of their bad behaviors that you're witnessing now are just going to continue and get worse with time. And all they're going to do is try to drag down everybody else that tries to be associated with them. So if people are not in a process of self-improvement, or if you are not in a self-improvement process, you potentially could be the negative person that's basically bringing other people down around you. People don't like to admit that that's who they are, but be honest with yourself so you can start to make the changes. Number 6, authenticity. High vibrational people live in accordance with the basic principles or core values that resonate with them. Be yourself. Be yourself. That's all that means. Be authentic. Be yourself. I like this. I don't like that. I prefer this. I don't prefer that. Oh, that really appeals to me. That's not really what I'm interested in. Be honest. Don't lie. Don't try to dim your light for other people because you'll be miserable and they'll be happy. And then you'll be miserable because they're happy. But the truth is, you're miserable because you're being phony. That's the truth. A lot of times people are in situations that they don't like because they're being dysfunctional. Be yourself. If it's not working for you, it's not for you. Unfortunately, that's another thing about being human. We like things that's not for us. We like the person that doesn't like us back. We like criminal celebrities. We're like, "Oh, that person is cool because they do drugs and they, you know, these, we're drawn to toxic figures." And unfortunately, toxicity only creates more toxicity. When you start doing things correctly, that creates a momentum of continuing to do things correctly. So whatever you're doing, it just multiplies. If you're doing the right thing, more right things will come. If you're doing a wrong thing, more wrong things will come. Radiating joy. Probably the most obvious characteristic of a high vibrational individual is the ability to radiate joy. Okay, so once again, we're on YouTube, so I'm going to talk about YouTube. You know, just be mindful of the type of content that you take in. If you're tuning into content creators and all they do is spew negativity, there's no joy. It's just the majority of their time is negative. They're hurting themselves and they're hurting the audience. It's not worth it to just be hollering, screaming, cursing, yelling, and speaking bad on other people every day, all day for hours. It's toxic for the individual that's doing it, and it's toxic for the audience. But like I said, unfortunately, that's what thousands of people like to spend their time and their money keeping that negative, toxic garbage trash flowing all throughout their mind, all throughout their body, all throughout their spirit. And when that soul returns to God and he pulls that receipt, you looking dirty, God's going to be like, I don't know you. Depart from me. You spent all your time investing in pure negativity instead of being productive with the light and the energy and the body that I gave you. I gave you all of these tools and resources. And what did you do with them? Wasted them on toxicity. Number 8, harmonious relationships. They build healthy relationships based on loving, kind, and compassionate interactions. Their relationship is characterized by mutual respect. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video. If you're in any relationships, whether it's a working relationship or a personal relationship, what you want to look for is reciprocity. Are you getting paid fairly for your work? Are you giving love and being loved in return by the people you choose to spend time with, whether they're friends, family, or intimate partners? See how if reciprocity is there. And sometimes My friends will call me to complain about their relationships, males and females. And I can tell that my friend is the one who is who's taking more than they're giving. Sometimes people are in relationships because they don't want to be alone. They just don't want to be single. And they don't really like the person that they're with. They don't love them. They might like them, but they don't love them. I'm like, are you going to marry this person? No. So why are you sleeping with them? If you don't see a future with this person, why are you wasting their time and wasting your time? And people don't realize that's how you hurt yourself. You make a bad decision to try to get a short-term benefit, not realizing that you're hurting yourself in the process because you're selling yourself short. You're lying to yourself. You're being phony. You see, all of these dysfunctional behaviors are just going to multiply and grow on you when you lower yourself to being part of something that you know is not really the best for your long term. All right, number 9, emotional balance. High vibrational beings always maintain emotional balance. They do not detach from their feelings, but remain true to them. All right, so this is hard. It's hard to maintain emotional balance. Why? Life is unpredictable. You wake up in the morning, you start getting dressed and ready to go out. You could, have an injury, or you might spill a cup of coffee all over your white shirt. Now you got to turn around and go back home and change your clothes. So emotional balance is hard to maintain because life is unpredictable. Every day is not the same. Some days we're really up, we're really hitting all our marks, we're in a great mood. The next day, not so much. Or, like I said, you can get a cold or something, be under the weather, and that could bring you down. And that's something you can't control. Germs are in the air. Plenty of times I have held people's babies. The baby sneezed right in my face. I caught a real nasty cold. Okay, it happened to me at least twice. A baby sneezed in my face and I had a terrible cold afterwards. So things happen. It takes you out off your A game, and you have to relax and sit back and, and take care of yourself, right? And those things affect your emotions. But as long as you're aware, I'm cranky because I have a cold and my nose is stopped up and I haven't slept good last night, so I'm cranky today. As long as you're aware that you're going through these changes, you'll be okay. Now, if you're cranky and mean and rude and disrespectful and nobody can do anything right and you're just always rude and mean and upset, and you're not even aware that you're always mean and rude and upset, that's a problem. That's when you're not balanced, is when you don't even realize that you're the problem. So the first thing to do is always check in with yourself. How am I feeling? How am I doing? What am I bringing to the situation? Okay? If you're under the weather, just tell people. Say, listen, I have a cold. I'm cranky. I didn't sleep well last night. So that way people know if you're being cranky with them, they're like, oh, okay, I know already. It's because you have a cold. Just be honest with yourself so you can be honest with other people. So when you're not at your best, other people can give you a free pass, at least for that day or two until you get back to yourself. Don't take advantage of it, but be honest with yourself. I'm not my 100% today. It's okay. Just be honest. Number 10, vibrant health. Observing one's health, high vibrations, and people lead them to make choices that maintain physical, mental, and spiritual health. Okay? So, like I was saying earlier, once you start doing the right thing, more right things just keep getting added to that. Once you start taking care of your spiritual health, you're aware of your feelings and emotions, you're aware of your strengths and weaknesses, you're aware of if you're in relationships that are reciprocal or if you need to let those relationships go. Once you become aware of all of these things, then you start to make better choices. Now you're like, you know what? I'm going to have a salad today instead of eating a slice of pizza. You start to switch out healthier choices for less healthier choices. A lot of times we wind up eating junk food because we're emotionally off, because we're angry or sad. But then when you're in a good mood, you don't crave, the same foods. You don't have the same taste buds. It changes everything for the better. So let one good habit start turning into more good habits. Number 11, spiritual growth. High vibrational individuals develop a deep connection with someone greater than themselves and seek spiritual growth. All right. And that's why I always say just give your heart to God. That's a very high vibrational thing to do. For me to say just give your heart to God. A lot of people can't even understand that. They cannot conceive it and they don't see themselves doing that. They like, give my heart to God. Why would I do that? Because God is doing everything for you. I have already realized and acknowledged, and I am still completely amazed at how much God is doing for me. I'm amazed. I'm blown away. I don't even have words to quantify how amazing and miraculous I think God is. There's no words to explain, like, this is amazing. It's amazing to be alive. It's amazing to put a light orb in a body and now this person is alive and walking and talking and aware that they're alive and aware that there is a God and aware that there is a spirit and aware that there's a soul and aware that there's a brain. Like, that's crazy that God could make something so miraculous that it could be self-aware. And like I said, this is what scientists are trying to do right now. Scientists are trying to make artificial intelligence have the awareness of a living human being. And the way they're trying to do that is they're trying to transfer human consciousness into machines. It's not possible. Why can't we just be happy and grateful that God has already done this by putting the soul in the human body? Why can't we just be happy that it's already done, that God already did it? Creativity. The high vibrational person is very creative. They mostly do well in the arts and problem solving exercises, embracing new ideas, perspectives, and manifesting new ways of expression and solution finding. Again, not to toot my own horn, but I definitely feel like I embody this as proof that I'm a high vibrational person. I'm extremely creative. I work as a mental health and substance abuse counselor. I supervise people. I solve problems. I have to do a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of reporting. And at the same time, as a hobby, as a side hustle, I crochet, I do paintings, I sew clothes, I make jewelry. I do all of these artistic things and I sell some of my projects. Now, mind you, I haven't done any of my art since the pandemic. That's the last time I actually made and sold artistic creations. For some reason, I kind of lost interest after the pandemic was over. But I still have the ability to do these things. Okay? So, when you have I already have a profession, I have a career, and I still have hobbies. It's like I still have things that I can do whenever I want to do them. We're not just one-dimensional beings. Right? We have purpose, but we also have other interests. We also have other things that we like to do. I like to cook and I cook very well, So there's always something else that's like, "Oh, I'm curious about that. I want to get into that. I'd like to try that." When you're high vibrational and you're living in your purpose, you have more energy, you have more creativity. You can do more. You can do it. Okay, number 13, sense of humor. High vibrational people are carefree and playful. Those who are high in vibration find love and laughter in everyday things. They view life from a lighter angle, which uplifts their spirits and everything that surrounds them. Okay? So, people who've been watching my channel for a long time, I've been saying one of my hidden talents that I would like to develop is comedy. I wanted to do some comedic stuff on YouTube. When I first started my channel, I was going to do like more comedy and skits, but God put it on my heart to minister. He said, give my people a good word. And so all of the plans that I have for YouTube, as soon as I started my channel, I was like, wow, I can't even do the stuff I was planning to do, which was more comedy oriented. I got to minister because that's what God called me to do. And God has done so much for me. There's no way that I could tell God, no, I'm not going to do that. So I said, you know what, God, you done did so much for me. You did me so many favors. You answered so many prayers. I'm going to do what you say. I'm going to stop trying to do it my way and I'm going to listen to you. Okay. So here we are. Here we are. But I still have my sense of humor. And you never know. Maybe I'll do something with my jokes that I wrote in my skits at another time or another channel. Okay. If all else fails, or if everything else I talked about works, regardless, here's probably the fastest, easiest way to give yourself a very quick spiritual checkup. check out the 10 Commandments, read them through, and see if you are, if you're following through on the 10 Commandments. If you're following through on the 10 Commandments, chances are you're not miserable in life. Most times, people who are on top of these things are happy and peaceful, and they're not complaining. They don't feel that life is hell. They don't feel that life is prison or punishment or none of that stuff. So just do a quick review of the 10 Commandments whenever you feel spiritually depleted and see where you fall, where you are doing your best and where you can do better. First of all, you shall have no other gods before me. Okay? That's why we only worship God on my channel. We don't worship nobody else. I don't know nobody else. I ain't heard about nobody else. I don't care about nobody else but the creator who put my soul in my body. Number two, you shall not make for yourself idols and worship them. You know, on YouTube, people make all these videos about God in heaven, and they put drawings and depictions of human beings as God. Okay, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to make no drawings, no pictures of God, the angels, nothing, nothing. You're not supposed to do that. You're only supposed to live your life naturally, have your relationship with God. Whatever God shows you is what you will see, what you need to know. You don't need to create fake images. And people do it all the time. And that's the reason why you have so much confusion in religion. Like in the Catholic Church, they have all of those statues. They pray to, they say, the Virgin Mary. They have all of these saints that they have statues of, they pray to, and they it's not right. It's not right. Okay, they break in the second commandment. Number three, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. You have a lot of people now who they'll be like, on God, like that's how they proving a point. I put that on God. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't drag God into your mess. You know, have some respect, you know, don't misuse the name of God. A lot of people straight up get on YouTube and they lie and they bring God into it in scriptures and they just be straight up lying. Don't do that. It's extremely disrespectful and it's a violation of the 10 Commandments. Number four, remember the Sabbath by keeping it holy. I observe the Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. According to scripture, the day of the Sabbath can actually change because it depends on the moon cycle. However, I've tried to follow the Sabbath according to how it's written in scripture. First of all, it's hard to do when you work a full-time job, number one, because the Sabbath changes every month, depending on where the moon cycle is, if you follow it that way. But if you follow it from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, you can consistently observe the Sabbath. So I've been consistently observing it from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. And I have my conversations with God during the Sabbath. I have conversations with God on the other days that's not the Sabbath too. But on the Sabbath, I'm very quiet, okay? I slow down. I play meditation music. I spend hours in peace and quiet making myself available if God wants to talk to me. And oftentimes I do receive what I would call downloads. The creator fills my head up with ideas, inspiration, information that I need to know for myself, and some things that I could share on my YouTube channel with other people. The message that God has for you is different than the message God has for me. So you have to make that time to be quiet and listen to God. So even though I'm observing the Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night, and that's not 100% scriptural. It's not. According to scripture, we have to follow the patterns of the moon to know when the Sabbath is for each month. That's the scriptural way. But when I tried to do it that way, I did not feel the same connection to God on those other days that I was observing the Sabbath that I felt because I was already in a pattern, in a habit of observing the Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night. So now I went back to observing the Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night. And God continues to fill me up with a good word every Sabbath. Okay. So for me, that's that it works for me because God knows that I'm open, I'm available, I'm locked in, I'm not distracted. And that's how you show God some loyalty. God's doing everything for you. You mean to tell me you can't make one day to be quiet and listen and try to talk to God? And listen, not just talk, but listen. Number 5, honor your mother and father. Everybody's parents is not the best, okay? I had a difficult childhood, but however, we still have to honor our parents because they came before us. Who knows what they went through? Who knows what sacrifices they made for us, to the point where we should give them our respect. If they're abusive, get away from them, okay? However, to the best of your ability, try not to stoop down to their level. Number 6, you shall not murder. Okay? You don't want anybody to murder you or people in your family or your pets and whatever you got going on. So don't do stuff to other people that you don't want them doing to you. You shall not commit adultery. Okay? And you see people are involved, let them be involved. Don't come in between them. Now, if somebody lies to you and says they single and they really married, that's not your fault, but you should get away from that person. You shall not steal. Okay? You don't want nobody stealing from you, so don't go stealing from other people. Number 9, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. This happens on YouTube all the time. People get on here and they say the most horrific lies about other people. They say things like accusing people of crimes, and they be lying. They lie. I don't even want to say what I want to say right now because it's so bad. The lies I've heard people tell on other people, things that could have ended people's careers, ruined their reputation for life, things that we all find socially unacceptable. You have some really sick, demonic, spirited people on YouTube, and they make up the most terrible lies on other people, and they feel comfortable doing it. And that's when you have to draw the line between somebody is just like having a hard time and they need to make better choices, and somebody is demonically possessed. Okay? There's a level that can be crossed where somebody crosses into your spirit is actually demonic. You're not even just making bad decisions right now. You literally worship the devil. People who get on YouTube and lie on God are demonic spirits. People who get on YouTube and lie on the Bible are demonic spirits. People who get on YouTube and reinterpret the Bible and what their reinterpretation is a lie, that's a demonic spirit. People who get on YouTube and accuse other people of abusing children, and that's not true, that's a demonic spirit. People who get on YouTube and they start doxing and stalking people and trying to get them to lose their job because you don't like them, that's a demonic spirit. When you're going so far and you're invested and you're using your mind and your energy and your time to hurt other people who don't deserve that, who have not done half to you as what you're doing to them, you're a demonic spirit. You have people whose whole channels is dedicated to doing stuff to other people that they would not want done to them. They go all out of their way to hide who they are, protect their identity. Oh, get a VPN, but they're going to sit there and put a bug in your computer to spy on you. This is demonic spirits. And because they don't even have the common sense to put two and two together, that God can still see them. And they still going to pay for everything that they think they're doing in the darkness. Number 10, you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. All right. You see people trying to keep up with the Joneses. They look over there. Oh, they got a bigger house than me. I got to now break my neck, do things I don't want to do to make extra money so I can appear to have a bigger house or get a bigger house, or they have a nice car. I got to get a nicer car. Stop worrying about what other people got going on. You don't know if that person is happy. You don't know how that person got what they got. And you don't know if those people are always going to have what they have. You have people that see each other and they want what the other person has and they don't realize what comes with it. So don't worry about what other people have. Worry about what makes you happy, what lights you up, what brings you back to your beautiful light that God put in you. That should be your concern. Staying in your lane so that you're happy with the quality of your life. Be grateful if God answers your prayers, but be even more grateful when God makes you the answer to someone else's prayer. And that's really powerful because once you are restored to your full potential that you always had, once you scrape off all of the dirt and you shine again the way God intended for you, now you can help other people reach that place. You can say, you know what? There was a time when I was depressed. I didn't think I could accomplish anything. I was down and out. I went through so much. I was rejected. People, betrayed me. And I just felt like I could never trust anybody again. But now I got myself together. I'm back on my path. I'm back on my purpose. I'm doing what I need to do to make myself happy. And I want you to know, because I've been through it, you can get through it too. That's how you be a blessing to other people. So thank you for joining my live. I hope you guys liked the video. Hit the like button, share the video. This is one of my most important videos ever because it's about taking control of your life and making it do what it do, which is have some fun, like make your life interesting and entertaining in ways that are healthy and positive and productive. And you will feel a lot better about being alive. You'll realize it really is a gift. Talk about being in the present moment. The word present. Life is a gift. We need to be in the present to enjoy it. Support the channel. You can send me super chats or super stickers. You can cash at me, Leilani for God. You can PayPal me, Leilani for God. You can email me if you have questions or suggestions, leilaniforgod@gmail.com. You can join my YouTube memberships. Stay blessed in the next video.